Chapter 3285. Book 1, Book 2, Chapter 229 translated by Hypersheep 325 edited by Meiker. Zhao Fu smiled as he said, "No problem." Shui Yu smiled as she said, "Thank you, husband." Zhao Fu smiled as he said, "You're welcome. We're already a family." Seeing that Zhao Fu was willing to help at a time like this, the water spirit grass did not hate Zhao Fu as much as before. Even though he was somewhat detestable, he was still quite responsible. Zhao Fu asked, "When do we start?" The water spirit grass said, "Let's start right now and make sure nothing happens." Zhao Fu smiled as he nodded. The water spirit grass looked at Shui Qian and the others and said, "You guys leave first." Shui Qian and the others nodded and left the hall, closing the door behind them. Zhao Fu lightly laughed as he said, "Old City Lord, what should I do next?" The water spirit grass's face became red as she said, "Just do as I say." Zhao Fu followed the water spirit grass's instructions and released 4 water worlds in 4 directions. The 4 water worlds gave off a blue light, forming a massive blue orb of light, and a powerful wave of water spread out. Zhao Fu was within the orb of light, and the water spirit grass walked into the orb of light as she said with a slightly red face, "Let's start." Zhao Fu smiled as he nodded. Hearing the sounds from within, Shui Qian and the others naturally knew what was going on. Shui Qian looked at Shui Yu and said softly, "I've wronged you." Shui Yu smiled as she shook her head. "I know that husband doesn't belong to me alone. It's fine as long as he treats me sincerely. Moreover, he's doing this for Demon Grass City, so I'll support him." The water spirit grass said, "If he dares to betray you, I definitely won't let him off." A few hours later, Zhao Fu walked out of his room. The water spirit grass was still recovering its power, and it was quite fast. However, it would still take a few days for it to fully recover. Seeing Zhao Fu, Shui Zian asked, "Husband, what are you doing here?" Zhao Fu smiled as he said, "Nothing." Shui Zian said, "I don't know what happened, but the city lord said that the entire city is under martial law. You have to be careful." Zhao Fu hugged Shui Zian and said, "Well, I know. Did you miss me?" Shui Zian blushed and nodded. Zhao Fu carried Shui Zian and walked to the side. After a while, water spirit grass heard the noise and came over. She glared fiercely at Zhao Fu. She didn't expect that her guard captain would also be harmed by Zhao Fu. She had to admit that Zhao Fu was charming. That night, lying on the bed, Shui Chao thought back to everything that had happened that day, and her face became red. She couldn't help but think of Zhao Fu. That fellow had been too arrogant, doing such a thing right in front of her, causing her to become like this. The door was pushed open. Water spirit grass immediately got up and looked at Zhao Fu, who was walking in. Her face was a little red. "What are you doing here so late at night?" Zhao Fu said, "I just came from the old city lord's place, and wanted to ask if you want to increase your strength." Water spirit grass asked, "Increase what strength?" Zhao Fu said, "Increase your constitution and bloodline, increase your strength, and give you the power of the water world. In the future, when facing Yingmu, you won't be any weaker than her." Water spirit grass nodded. Zhao Fu said, "If you don't want to, I'll leave." Water spirit grass said somewhat angrily, "Why are you treating me like this?" Zhao Fu said, "I thought you didn't like me and hated me?" Water spirit grass's face was red as she said, "You can't blame me. Who told you to be so hateful? If you were slightly better, I wouldn't have treated you like that." Zhao Fu curled his lips and said, "I'm going now." Water spirit grass hurriedly said, "Wait." Zhao Fu stopped and looked at water spirit grass. Water spirit grass said shyly, "Come here. Help me." Zhao Fu walked over. The sky brightened and the next day arrived. Water spirit grass lay in Zhao Fu's embrace and smiled as she looked at Zhao Fu. Now she understood why those women were so crazy. Zhao Fu smiled and said, "Do you still hate me?" Water spirit grass rolled her eyes at Zhao Fu and said, Of course I hate you. You've harmed so many people in Monster Grass City. What do you think we should do? Zhao Fu smiled and said, I'll take responsibility. Water Spirit Grass lightly harumphed. I want you to stay and not leave. Moreover, you want to officially marry us. Zhao Fu said awkwardly, That's impossible, I still have many things to do. Water Spirit Grass knew that Zhao Fu would not agree, so she said, Forget it. It's our Monster Grass City's bad luck to meet you. I just hope that you can treat us better in the future. Zhao Fu smiled and said, Familiarize yourself with your power. I still need to go and take care of the old city lord. Water Spirit Grass asked curiously, How is the old city lord's power recovering? Zhao Fu replied, Very soon. He'll be able to reach the higher being realm soon. Water Spirit Grass smiled and said, Go. Following this, Zhao Fu came to the hall. Water Spirit Grass was sitting cross-legged on the ground, her body giving off a blue light. Seeing Zhao Fu walk in, Water Spirit Grass gave a trace of a smile and said, Spirit Grass, did you object? Zhao Fu lightly laughed and said, Isn't it because I'm too charming? Water Spirit Grass lightly laughed and said, Stop being so smug. This is also an opportunity for her to improve her cultivation. Zhao Fu walked up and smiled as he said, Let's begin. Water Spirit Grass's face became slightly red as she said, Don't you need to rest? Zhao Fu smiled and said, Of course not. A few hours later, Water Qian walked in. Chapter 3286. Book 1. Chapter 230 translated by Hypersheep 325 edited by Micir. A few days later, Zhao Fu prepared to leave and search for the next water world. Water Spirit Grass walked on the corridor, and was about to send Zhao Fu off when a black figure suddenly rushed towards her. At that moment, Water Spirit Grass reacted, and her gaze became cold as she slashed out with her sword finger, sending out an arc-shaped sword light that slashed apart the black figure. However, the black figure did not disappear and instead flew towards Water Spirit Grass even faster, enveloping her. The Water Spirit Grass's consciousness was pulled into a dark space. Shadows with daggers in their hands flashed from all directions. Suddenly, one of the black figures held a dagger and slashed Water Spirit Grass' throat, leaving behind a black substance. Water Spirit Grass slammed her palm against the black figure's chest, and a massive force sent the black figure flying, which immediately turned into a black substance and dissipated. Another black figure immediately attacked from behind, also holding a dagger and slashing towards Water Spirit Grass' head. Water Spirit Grass slashed out with her sword finger, and a sword light once again slashed apart the black figure. At that moment, 4 or 5 black figures appeared, holding daggers and attacking Water Spirit Grass from 4 different directions. Water Spirit Grass did not move, and a few strands of water grass shot out, binding the 4 black figures, but the 4 black figures once again turned into a black substance and dissipated. Following this, the surroundings returned to silence. Water Spirit Grass warily looked around. A hand suddenly reached out from the ground and grabbed Water Spirit Grass's leg, pulling Water Spirit Grass towards the ground, causing the ground to become like black ink. Water Spirit Grass's body continuously sank, and she wanted to struggle free, but that hand was incredibly strong. Suddenly, many black figures appeared in the surroundings, holding daggers and quickly attacking Water Spirit Grass. Water Spirit Grass coldly harumphed, and many vines shot out from her body, wrapping around her body and forming a massive ball, blocking the attacking black figures. The ball started to quickly spin, and a shocking power spread out. Bang! A massive explosion sounded out as the ball exploded, and a shock wave spread out, sending everything in the surroundings flying. Water Spirit Grass broke free from that hand and appeared in the air. A figure suddenly appeared behind the Water Spirit Grass, and the dagger in his hand stabbed towards the back of the Water Spirit Grass like a bolt of lightning. The Water Spirit Grass was shocked and quickly dodged to the side, but a wound appeared on its back. In reality, A wound had also appeared on the water spirit grass's back. Within the dark space, the water spirit grass angrily glared at the black figure. It grabbed out with both hands, and numerous vines shot out, turning into two huge eels that ferociously bit towards the black figure. The figure turned into many black fish shadows and dissipated, causing the two eels' attacks to miss. The water spirit grass controlled the two conger eels to surround him, looking around vigilantly. More than a dozen black shadows with daggers in their hands walked out from the darkness. They looked coldly at the water spirit grass and rushed towards the water spirit grass. The water spirit grass controlled the two conger eels to attack the human figures. They either bit the human figures to pieces or sent the black figures flying. They were extremely ferocious, not allowing the black figures to get close to her. Boom! A massive black fish rushed out from the ground and opened its mouth towards the water spirit grass, wanting to devour the water spirit grass. The water spirit grass immediately flew up and controlled the two conger eels to bite the fish. The fish was much bigger than the conger eels, and it allowed the two conger eels to bite it as it continued to bite towards the water spirit grass. The water spirit grass immediately stretched out a hand, and a massive wave of power flowed out, forming a massive wall of light. Bang! A muffled sound rang out as the fish smashed into the wall of light. A shocking force spread out, and the water spirit grass was forced back a step by this force. The monster's eyes ferociously stared at the water spirit grass in front of it, and it swung its tail, bringing with it a terrifying force as it smashed into the wall of light. The water spirit grass continuously flew into the sky, and many cracks appeared on the wall of light. Bang! A massive sound rang out as the fish smashed through the wall of light. The fish opened its mouth and ferociously bit towards the water spirit grass. Boom! The water spirit grass exploded out with a massive wave of power, and countless water grasses shot out from its body, covering the sky and covering the earth as they surged towards the fish. The fish smashed through the water grasses and continued to rush towards the water spirit grass. The countless water grasses started to wrap around the fish, and the fish struggled, breaking many of the water grasses. However, even more water grasses started to wrap around the fish, and gradually, the fish's ability to resist became weaker and weaker. In the end, it was wrapped up by the water grasses. However, before anyone could feel happy, the monster turned into countless black substances and dissipated. A figure appeared beside the water spirit grass, and the dagger in its hand was incredibly powerful as it slashed through the water grasses, revealing the water spirit grass within. The dagger in the figure's hand quickly stabbed towards the water spirit grass heart. The water spirit grass controlled many water grasses to shoot towards the figure, and the water grasses were densely packed and gave off a terrifying aura. The figure continuously swung the dagger in its hand, bringing out arcs of light as it cut through the water grasses and continued to quickly attack the water spirit grass. The water spirit grass continuously retreated as it controlled the water grasses to attack the figure. The figure continuously swung the dagger, cutting through the water grasses. The water grasses flew everywhere as the figure slowly approached the water spirit grass. The water spirit grass controlled the water grasses to form a massive eel, which gave off a terrifying aura as it bit towards the figure. The figure first dodged, avoiding the attack of the huge conger eel. With a wave of the dagger in his hand, he chopped off the conger eel's head. Then, he quickly rushed in front of the water spirit grass and slashed at its throat. The water spirit grass grabbed and a green sword of light appeared in her hand. She held it vertically, blocking the figure's dagger. The figure disappeared and appeared on the other side of the water spirit grass and vigorously slashed at the water spirit grass with his dagger. The water spirit grass once again used its sword to block, but the dagger was able to cut the sword of light in half with a single strike. The water spirit grass felt quite startled and leaned back, dodging the sharp dagger. At the same time, it grasped an opportunity, and its palm gave off a green light. The palm hit the figure's abdomen, and the massive power sent the figure flying. The figure disappeared in an instant. The surroundings once again returned to silence. In the next second, the figure once again appeared in front of the water spirit grass. The dagger in its hand left behind an afterimage as it attacked towards the water spirit grass. The water spirit grass immediately condensed a green sword of light and slashed towards the figure. The figure twisted, dodging the water spirit grass's sword, and the dagger continued to slash towards the water spirit grass chest. The water spirit grass immediately retreated, but a wound was still left on it. Feeling this pain, the water spirit grass vigorously swung the sword in its hand, sending out a massive sword energy. Chapter 3287. Book 1, Chapter 231. The figure immediately disappeared, but soon appeared next to the water spirit grass, the dagger stabbing towards the water spirit grass's throat. Water spirit grass slashed with her sword, a huge sword light slashed at the figure, and then the figure disappeared again. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Water spirit grass controlled countless water grasses to shoot in all directions. If the figure was still hiding nearby, he would definitely be caught by the water grasses. Sure enough, that silhouette waved his dagger and cut off the water plants that were coming at him with a sound in the void. Water spirit grass slashed with her sword, a huge sword light slashed at the figure. The figure still disappeared, using this method to dodge the attack, but in the next moment, he appeared in front of water spirit grass. Water spirit grass's sword stabbed towards the figure. The figure used the dagger to block the water spirit grass's sword, and one of his hands suddenly grabbed towards the water spirit grass's throat. The water spirit grass controlled many of the water grasses to wrap around the figure's arm, and the figure's arm struggled hard, breaking the water grasses. The water spirit grass immediately slashed at the figure's arm, but the figure didn't dodge, allowing the water spirit grass's sword to cut off his arm. This surprised water spirit grass, and before she could react, the dagger quickly stabbed at water spirit grass's eye. Water spirit grass hurriedly retreated. She narrowly dodged this attack. Whoosh! Immediately after, a huge strange fish rushed out from the ground, opening its mouth and biting at water spirit grass. At this moment, water spirit grass couldn't dodge, and was about to be swallowed by the strange fish. The figure also revealed a trace of a smile. At that moment, an octagonal mark appeared on water spirit grass's chest. Boom! A huge explosion sounded out, and a huge blue power burst out, sweeping out in an instant. Everything was swallowed by the blue light. In reality, the figure that wrapped water spirit grass was blasted away by the blue light, turning back into Ingmu's body. A trace of blood flowed from the corner of his mouth, and his eyes looked solemnly at the blue mark on water spirit grass's chest. This was the 8-direction water seal. Initially, Ingmu's plan was to capture the water spirit grass and use it to threaten the water spirit to hand over the treatment method. However, she had miscalculated. She did not expect the water spirit grass to have the 8-directional watermark. The water spirit grass opened her eyes and looked at Ingmu in front of her. If she hadn't used the power of the water seal, she might have lost to Ingmu. Now that she thought about it, the old city lord was right. She wasn't Ingmu's match before. How did you get the 8-directional water seal? Could it be that the water demon spirit has completely taken control of the water world? Ingmu asked. The water spirit grass thought of Zhao Fu, who had given her the 8-sided water seal. She said, "Why should I tell you? Since you dare to barge into this place, then stay." Boom! The water spirit grass stretched out a hand, and countless rays of blue light gathered to form a huge hand, grabbing towards the water Shadow Mu. Shadow Mu coldly snorted, "It's not that easy to catch me." Ingmu's body once again turned into many fish silhouettes and disappeared, causing the water spirit grass's blue hand to fail. Bang! A muffled explosion sounded out as Ingmu was sent flying back and coughed up a mouthful of blood. He looked at the person in front of him with an unsightly expression. This person was the water demon spirit. Because it had fused with natural treasures over the years and had Zhao Fu's help, The water demon spirit was even more powerful than before. The water demon spirit had been planning to send Zhao Fu off, but it had sensed some movement here and had immediately rushed over. It had just happened to see Ing Mu trying to escape, and adding on the fact that Ing Mu had been careless, he had been injured by the water demon spirit. Ing Mu looked at the water demon spirit and asked, "How did you recover so quickly?" The water demon spirit lightly smiled and said, "It's very strange, right? Not only have I recovered, but I'm even more powerful than before." Ing Mu had been quite injured and understood that he would not be able to escape. He asked, "What do you plan to do to me now?" The water demon spirit smiled and said, "Don't worry, I won't kill you. However, you can stay in my demon grass city in the future." Ing Mu said coldly, "That's impossible." The water demon spirit confidently smiled and said, "You can try to escape now." Hearing this, Ing Mu felt quite angry and immediately turned into a massive fish image and shot into the sky. The water demon spirit's body disappeared and reappeared in the sky. She vigorously slapped out with one hand and a massive blue force blasted down, knocking the massive fish image back to the ground. The fish image split into a few and quickly swam in all directions. The water demon spirit waved its hand and many blue aquatic plants grew on the ground, binding up the fish images. The fish images turned into countless traces of black matter and dissipated. The water demon spirit looked to the side and pointed out with its hand, causing a massive wave of energy to shoot in that direction. Bang! Ing Mu's body retreated a few steps. The water demon spirit lightly smiled and said, "This is Demon Grass City, not some other place. You won't be able to escape." Ing Mu's expression was cold and she did not say anything. She had long since known that she would not be able to escape, but she had been too careless this time. She had never thought that the water demon grass could control the 8-directional water seal, nor had she thought that the water demon spirit would recover so quickly. However, as a member of the Shadowfish clan, she knew that the water demon spirit would not dare to do anything to her. At this moment, Zhao Fu walked out from the side and looked at the scene before him. He smiled and asked, "What happened?" The water demon grass blushed and said, "She tried to sneak attack me just now, but she failed." Zhao Fu looked at Ing Mu and sized her up. Ing Mu coldly humphed and said, "What are you looking at? I will dig your eyeballs out later." Zhao Fu smiled and said, "Come here." Ing Mu was originally quite angry, but when she heard that a mere emptiness realm expert dared to treat her like this, she immediately dashed towards Zhao Fu angrily. The water demon grass quickly blocked in front of Zhao Fu. Ing Mu took out her dagger and swung it forward. The dagger created an arc and slashed forward at an extremely fast speed, as if it could cut through the air. The water demon grass immediately created a blue shield of light, enveloping herself and Zhao Fu. Ing Mu blocked Ing Mu's attack. Ing Mu still wanted to attack, but the water demon spirit appeared beside her and struck towards Ing Mu. Ing Mu twisted her body and dodged the water demon spirit's attack. However, she was immediately struck by the water demon spirit's other palm strike. Ing Mu forcefully blocked this attack, and the dagger pierced towards the water demon spirit like a black shadow. The water demon spirit's expression did not change. It unleashed a powerful force that pushed Ing Mu 2 steps back. The water demon grass suddenly attacked and struck Ing Mu's chest with all her strength. This strike sent Ing Mu flying 10 meters away, and she spat out a mouthful of blood. Ing Mu's face paled. Zhao Fu stepped forward and hugged the water demon grass as he smiled and asked, "How do you feel now?" The water demon grass blushed slightly and let Zhao Fu hug her. Ing Mu stared at Zhao Fu and felt strange. Who was this person in front of her? He seemed to be very close to the water demon grass. Why would the city lord of demonic grass city be with such a weak person? Chapter 3288. Book 1, Chapter 232. Ing Mu asked, "Who are you?" Zhao Fu smiled and said, "Me? Of course I'm an ordinary person." Ing Mu's expression was cold, evidently not believing Zhao Fu's words. Zhao Fu looked at the water demon spirit and asked, "What do you plan to do with her?" The water demon spirit replied, "I'll imprison her first and see if the Shadowfish clan comes. If they don't, I'll imprison her forever." Hearing this, Ingmu's expression became unsightly as he said, "The Shadowfish clan will definitely come back." The water demon spirit lightly laughed and said, "That's not necessarily true. The Shadowfish clan has its own rules. Back then, your big sister came to steal the eight-sided water world and broke the rules. The Shadowfish clan will not care about this. You also broke the rules by coming here and falling into my hand. The Shadowfish clan will not be able to say anything. Also, I'll report this matter to the Water Sky Guardian." Ingmu coldly glared at the water demon spirit and said, "Kill me now if you dare." Zhao Fu asked, "What's the Water Sky Guardian?" The water demon spirit explained, "The Water Sky Guardian is an organization established by a higher being. In order to better manage and protect the water world, they made many rules. They are far more powerful than the Shadowfish clan, which is why the Shadowfish clan does not dare to come here." Zhao Fu said in surprise, "They're that powerful?" The water demon spirit smiled and said, There are over 100 higher beings, and there are even a few half-celestial existences." After hearing the water demon spirit's words, Zhao Fu felt that the Water Sky Guardian was indeed terrifying and no one dared to offend such a faction. The water demon spirit looked at Ingmu and grabbed out with her hand. Many blue water plants quickly grew out and shot towards Ingmu. Seeing that the water demon spirit was going to imprison him forever, Ingmu hurriedly said, "Wait." The water demon spirit was quite surprised and said, "What? What else do you have to say?" Ingmu's attitude softened as he said, "I was wrong in this matter, but I have no ill intentions towards Demon Grass City. I just want a way to save my big sister." The water demon spirit smiled and said, So what?" Ingmu said, "I want you to let me go. I can promise you 3 things in the future. No matter how difficult it is, I will do it." The water demon looked at Ingmu. "Why should I believe you? Imprisoning you now is the best option." Ingmu said, "This is not the best choice. If I continue to stay in Fey Grass City, I will be a security risk. Moreover, you are also afraid of the Shadowfish clan. If you let me go, I can resolve this grudge." The water spirit grass said angrily, "Back then, it was your people who stole our things, and now you want us to let you go? Are you being unreasonable?" Ingmu explained, "I can do things for you to compensate you." The water demon pondered for a moment before replying, "Sure." Shadow Mu sighed in relief. The water demon spirit smiled, "However, we need to sign a blood contract." Shadow Mu replied, "That's not a problem." The water spirit and Ingmu each cut open their arms. Blood flowed out from their wounds and formed a ball of blood under the control of their powers. Both sides merged the contents of the contract into the ball of blood, and the ball of blood flew towards each other. The 2 balls of blood fused together in midair and a wave of blood power spread out. After the blood contract was completed, Ingmu looked at the water demon spirit and asked, "What method did you use to heal your injuries?" The water demon spirit smiled and said, "Take a guess." Ingmu looked confused as he said, "I don't know. I also don't know why your powers recovered so quickly. You seem to be stronger than before." Zhao Fu chuckled. Ingmu stared at Zhao Fu. Now that he thought about it, he realized that there were too many suspicious points about Zhao Fu. Ingmu asked, "Is this related to you?" Zhao Fu smiled and said, "Yes, it is related to me." Ingmu said in disbelief, "You are just an emptiness realm expert. What ability do you have?" Zhao Fu chuckled and said, "It's up to you to believe it or not. Just don't come and beg me in the future." Hearing this, Ingmu glanced at the water demon spirit and the water spirit grass. He could tell that it was indeed related to the person in front of him. He couldn't help but ask, "Can you save my sister?" Zhao Fu smiled and said, "You didn't believe me just now. Why are you begging me now? Ing Mu said, I apologize to you. Please save my sister. Zhao Fu smiled and said, I won't save her if there are no benefits. Ing Mu hastily asked, What benefits do you want? I can give them to you. Zhao Fu smiled and said, Do you have the water world of the 8 directions? Ing Mu looked embarrassed. Zhao Fu said, Since you don't have it, then you don't have to say it. Ing Mu said, I will find the water world of the 8 directions for you. Please believe me and give me some time. Zhao Fu smiled and said, How long will it take? Ing Mu thought for a while and said, 10 years. Zhao Fu couldn't help but chuckle, 10 years? You must be joking. Ing Mu said, Then 5 years. If the time is too short, I can't guarantee that I can find it. Zhao Fu smiled and said, Then there is nothing more to say. Ing Mu looked at Zhao Fu and took a deep breath. As long as you promise to save my sister, I'll be yours. Zhao Fu smiled and said, Although you look pretty good and I'm quite tempted, I'm more interested in the water world of the 8 directions. Ing Mu said, Then give me 5 years. During these 5 years, you can do whatever you want with me. Zhao Fu thought about it and smiled. That's more like it. The water spirit rolled her eyes at Zhao Fu. The water spirit lightly laughed. You stinking brat, you won't let any woman off. Zhao Fu hugged the water spirit and smiled. I'm doing something serious. She's just a bonus. Ing Mu looked at the scene in front of him. The two of them had become Zhao Fu's women. In his heart, he completely believed that Zhao Fu had the ability to cure his sister. He was even more shocked. Why was Zhao Fu so powerful? The water spirit lightly smiled as she said, Do you want to wait a few days before leaving? Zhao Fu smiled as he said, No need, I've already decided to stay here for a few days. I've been staying here for a long time. The water spirit said, All right. Come back and visit when you have time. Zhao Fu smiled as he said, I know. Following this, Zhao Fu brought Ing Mu and left Yao Grass City. They came to a colorful coral forest and Zhao Fu hugged Ing Mu. Ing Mu was not used to it and struggled a few times. Zhao Fu took off Ing Mu's mask, revealing Ing Mu's beautiful face. Ing Mu looked at Zhao Fu and understood what was going to happen, and she blushed. A few hours later, Zhao Fu looked at Ing Mu in his embrace and smiled as he said, Let's go. We'll go to the Shadowfish clan to save your sister. Ing Mu said, Who are you? Zhao Fu smiled as he said, I can't tell you. Ing Mu asked, What method did you use to cure the water spirit's injuries? Zhao Fu evilly smiled as he said, Didn't you just experience it? Ing Mu's face blushed as she said, This method can be used to cure someone? I've never heard of it before. Zhao Fu smiled as he said, You should know by now, right? How does it feel? Chapter 3289. Book 1 Chapter 233. Ing Mu rolled his eyes at Zhao Fu. You're too bad. Zhao Fu smiled. Ing Mu asked again. The water demon spirit's power recovered so quickly, and there's also the water spirit grass's power. Are you going to use this method? Zhao Fu smiled and nodded. I was the one who gave her the water spirit grass and the power of the omnidirectional water world. However, the main reason why the water demon spirit's power recovered so quickly and even became stronger was not because of me, but because of the treasures she absorbed over the years. Ing Mu nodded in understanding. Zhao Fu smiled and said, I will also use this method to save your sister. Are you willing? Shadow Mu said, I don't mind. Anyway, when my sister wakes up, you can explain to her yourself and get her forgiveness. Zhao Fu smiled and said, Isn't that very difficult? I think we should forget about it. Ing Mu glared at Zhao Fu and said angrily, That won't do. If you don't go, I'll deal with you right now. Zhao Fu smiled and said, All right, I'll go now. Ing Mu snorted and said, My sister might know about the other water worlds. If she wakes up, you should be able to get the water world of the 8 directions very quickly. Zhao Fu nodded with a smile. 3 days later, Zhao Fu followed Ing Mu to the Shadowfish clan. The ground, stones, and plants here were all black, and they contained a type of darkness power. Occasionally, there would be shadows swimming about, giving off a terrifying feeling. After entering a city, Zhao Fu found that the people here were all women. They were all wearing masks and black tights, and their figures were alluring. Looking at Zhao Fu, they all had strange expressions on their faces. After all, the Shadowfish clan did not allow outsiders to enter. However, looking at Ingmu next to Zhao Fu, they did not say anything. Ingmu was one of the Shadowfish clan's top 10 assassins, and he was ranked 10th. Zhao Fu looked around curiously. He followed Ingmu forward. At that moment, a short-haired, voluptuous woman wearing a black mask and black tights blocked in front of Ingmu. She was called Inglian, and she was ranked 9th among the top 10 assassins. Inglian looked at Ingmu and said, "Ingmu, I heard that you went to Demon Grass City again. Let me warn you not to go, or else I won't help you." Ingmu said with a cold expression, "I know." Inglian looked at Zhao Fu and asked, "Why did you bring back a man? What does he do?" Inglian said, "That's none of your business." Shadow Lotus snorted, "I don't care." With that, Shadow Lotus left the place. Ingmu said expressionless, "Let's go." Zhao Fu nodded. Following this, Zhao Fu and Ingmu came to a residence. This was most likely where Ingmu lived. This Zhao Fu and 5. Ing Fu, the hidden room was not big and there was only a wooden bed. The wooden bed looked very rough and was made of ordinary wood. There were some branches and leaves growing on it, giving off a powerful life force. There was a tall and beautiful woman wearing black tights lying on the wooden bed. She was Ingmu's big sister, Ingo, and she was ranked 5th among the top 10 assassins. Her face was pale without a trace of blood and her aura was very weak. If it wasn't for the wooden bed sustaining her life, she would have most likely died. Zhao Fu's expression became serious. The situation was much more serious than he had thought. Ingmu looked at Zhao Fu's expression and became nervous. "How is it?" Zhao Fu said, "I need to go over and have a look." Ingmu nodded. Zhao Fu walked to the side of the wooden bed and pressed a hand against Ingji's abdomen. He sent a wave of power into her body and started to examine her injuries. After a while, Ingmu could not help but ask worriedly, "How is it?" Zhao Fu said, "I'll try my best. Stay away for now." Ingmu obediently moved to the side. Zhao Fu stretched out his hand and cut his arm. Blood slowly flowed out and an extraordinary aura instantly spread out. Ingmu looked shocked. She had never seen blood like this from Zhao Fu before. Zhao Fu stretched out his other hand and opened Ingji's mouth, allowing his blood to drip into her mouth. Only after a while did it stop. Following this, Zhao Fu placed his other hand on Ingji's abdomen and sent a powerful wave of power into her body to help her digest his blood. Zhao Fu's blood was indeed an unparalleled holy medicine in the world, and Ingji's aura gradually became stronger. This caused Ingmu to smile in pleasant surprise. Zhao Fu continued to help Inggu recover. After half a day, a trace of blood had returned to Ingji's face and her life was no longer in danger. After another half a day, Zhao Fu started to feel weak and could only stop for now. Ingmu came up and asked in concern, "How are you?" Zhao Fu lightly smiled and said, "I've used up too much essence blood and power and need to recover." Seeing how Zhao Fu had worked so hard to save her big sister, Ingmu felt a trace of gratitude in her heart and said, "Thank you." Zhao Fu smiled and said, "You're welcome." Ingmu looked at Zhao Fu and somewhat acknowledged Zhao Fu. After resting for a while, Zhao Fu recovered his strength and continued to heal Inggu. Ingji's injuries were simply too severe, and without Zhao Fu's help, she would never have woken up. Moreover, she did not use the water devil spirits method. If she had, she would have woken up long ago. The next day, Zhao Fu continued to heal Inggu, and her aura had become much weaker. Ingmu could not help but say, "Rest for a while. My big sister's complexion is quite good, so she shouldn't be in danger. I'm not in a hurry for my big sister to wake up. I've already waited for so many years. Zhao Fu stopped and smiled as he said, Are you worried about me? Shadow Mu blushed slightly and nodded. Zhao Fu chuckled. It's fine. Your sister should be able to wake up after a while. However, I have to make it clear that her strength won't recover that quickly. Shadowcleanse said, I got it. Zhao Fu continued to send some power into Kage's body, causing Kage's body to give off a faint black light and a powerful energy spread out. 2 hours later, Zhao Fu withdrew his power. Kage, who was lying on the wooden bed, slowly opened his eyes and looked at Zhao Fu in front of him with a puzzled expression. Ingmu saw Ko waking up and rushed over to her. He cried tears of joy. Sister Xie, you are finally awake. Looking at his little sister, Kage came back to his senses and hugged Ingmu as he comforted her. Don't cry. Ingmu's eyes were red as she looked at Ko and said, Big sis, you don't even know that you've been asleep for 300 years. Kage was surprised. That long? Shadow Mu nodded. If I hadn't found him, you might never have woken up. Hearing this, Kage stared at Zhao Fu and said, He is just an emptiness realm expert. How could he be so powerful? Ingmu said with a smile. Big sis, don't underestimate him. He is very powerful. Kage revealed a trace of a smile and said, Thank you for saving my life. I'll repay you later. Zhao Fu smiled and said, You're welcome. Chapter 3290. Book 1, Chapter 234. Ingmu suddenly said, Sister, let me tell you something. Don't be angry. Ingmu asked, What is it? Ingmu said, I went to Demonic Grass City and was captured by the water spirit of Demonic Grass City. In order to save you, I made a deal with her. Hearing this, Ingmu was obviously angry and said, What deal? Ingmu looked at Ingmu nervously and said, I promised to resolve the grudge between you and her. Also, I brought her back from Demonic Grass City. Ingmu looked at Zhao Fu with a cold face. Ingmu had just woken up, and her strength was similar to that of an ordinary person. Zhao Fu was not afraid at all. He said, Your sister sacrificed a lot for you. She even lost her life. You can't be angry with her. Kage took a deep breath and calmed her emotions. She knew that her little sister had done a lot for her. She looked at Kage Mu and asked, The water demon spirit's injuries shouldn't be any lighter than mine, so why did she wake up so quickly? Ingmu looked at Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu said with a smile, Not just you. I cured her as well. Ingmu said doubtfully, You are just an emptiness realm expert. How do you have such abilities? Also, who are you? Ingmu said, I can't tell you his identity. However, sister, he has already collected 4 water worlds of the 8 directions. Ingmu looked at Zhao Fu in surprise and said, You have already collected 4 water worlds of the 8 directions? Zhao Fu nodded with a smile and said, By the way, I heard from your sister that you know the whereabouts of the other water worlds of the 8 directions? Ingmu said seriously, Let's not talk about this first. Prove to me that you have collected 4 water worlds of the 8 directions. Hearing this, Zhao Fu stretched out his hand and the 4 water worlds of the 8 directions flew out from Zhao Fu's body and floated in the air, emitting a faint blue glow. Ingmu saw this scene and confirmed that Zhao Fu had 4 water worlds of the 8 directions. She said, I see that you have made the water world of the 8 directions recognize you as its master. What method did you use? Zhao Fu said with a smile, It's very simple. It recognized me as its master the moment I touched it. Kage was stunned. So simple? Zhao Fu nodded. Because I am the natural master of the 8-directional water world. The shadow worm fell silent. Zhao Fu continued asking, Do you know the whereabouts of the other 8 water worlds? Kage said, I can tell you, and I can help you, but you have to give me one in the future. Zhao Fu said directly, No. I need all the water world of the 8 directions. Kage said, What do you want to do with the entire water world of the 8 directions? Zhao Fu asked. What do you need the 8-directional water world for? Kage said, I need the 8-directional water world to master a powerful forbidden technique. I can't do it without the 8-directional water world. Zhao Fu said, I can give you an 8-directional water world. Kage said, No. Zhao Fu looked at Kage and asked, Are you sure you want an 8-directional water world? Kage nodded. Zhao Fu said, This is impossible. Kage said, I have to take it. Zhao Fu looked at Kage and said with a cold tone, I saved your life. Now tell me the whereabouts of the other water worlds of the 8 directions, and we won't owe each other anything. Kage said coldly, I won't say. The atmosphere suddenly became tense. Kage looked at Zhao Fu and his sister awkwardly, not knowing who to help. Zhao Fu suddenly pushed Kage down. Kage struggled in panic. Kage hurriedly stepped forward to separate the two. Zhao Fu coldly snorted, Stand aside, I want to deal with your sister. Your sister is too much. Kage said, You can't do this to my sister, she's my sister. Zhao Fu said coldly, Then you come along. A day later, Kage bit Zhao Fu and looked at Zhao Fu fiercely, I'm going to kill you. Zhao Fu chuckled, With your current strength, you won't be able to kill me. Kage looked at Zhao Fu angrily. Although she bit Zhao Fu, it would at most cause Zhao Fu some pain, but it couldn't hurt Zhao Fu in the slightest. She was now no different from an ordinary person. Kage sighed. Zhao Fu smiled and said, I saved your life, now we don't owe each other anything. I can go find the information of the 8 directions water world by myself. Don't think that only you know about it, and don't threaten me. Let go of me and leave. Kage said in surprise, You really want to leave? Zhao Fu said, If I don't leave, then why should I stay here? Kage didn't know what to say and felt a little uncomfortable in his heart. Kage let go of Zhao Fu and reached out to hit Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu grabbed Kage's hand with one hand and said with a smile, How about it? Do you still want to try? Kage said angrily and shyly, You damn bastard. Kage could not help but say, Don't bully my sister. Zhao Fu smiled and said, You can't blame me, it's her who knows how to do it. Kage rolled his eyes at Zhao Fu and said, Who asked you to forcefully take my sister? It was my sister's first time. Zhao Fu smiled and evaluated, Your sister is indeed not bad. Hearing this, Kage looked angry and opened her mouth to bite Zhao Fu again. Zhao Fu immediately used his other hand to pinch Kage's mouth and said with a smile, If you're not obedient, I'm going to make a move. Kage still angrily glared at Zhao Fu but did not make a move. Kage suddenly thought of something and said, Did you also obtain the water demon spirit and water spirit grass like this? Kage said in surprise, The water demon spirit is also his woman? Kage replied, Yes, the current city lord is also his woman. However, I was curious as to why the two of them would become his women. Now I seem to understand. Kage felt more balanced in her heart. Zhao Fu lightly smiled and said, I've also given you the 8-directional water seal, which will be of great help to you. Especially you, I've spent a lot of essence blood to improve your physique and bloodline. Becoming an immortal will not be difficult for you. Hearing this, Kage sensed her body and revealed a shocked expression. She found that her body had undergone earth-shattering changes. Coupled with the 8-directional water seal, Kage felt that she could reach the half-immortal realm in a short time. Looking at her expression, Zhao Fu smiled and said, I'm not bad, right? Kage lightly snorted. Zhao Fu had indeed been of great help to her, she had no choice but to admit it. Zhao Fu smiled and said, Can I leave now? Kage said, Why are you leaving? Zhao Fu replied, Of course to continue searching for the 8-directional water world. Kage said, I can tell you some information about the 8-directional water world. Zhao Fu lightly smiled and said, Why did you change your mind? Kage said, I also have a condition. Zhao Fu smiled and asked, What's the condition? Kage looked at Zhao Fu and said, You have to help me become the patriarch of the Shadow Fish clan. Zhao Fu could not help but smile and said, I don't have that ability. You're the top 10 assassins. What can I do? Chapter 3291. Book 1, Chapter 235. Inkoan said, We're all higher beings, so why are we being bullied by you? Zhao Fu laughed awkwardly. Inkoan looked at Zhao Fu and said, How about it? I can wait, and I believe that your cultivation will surpass mine soon. Zhao Fu thought about it and said, I can try, but I can't promise anything. Inkoan nodded. Zhao Fu smiled and said, Who do you think I should look for first? Ingmu said, Look for Lian. I don't like her. Zhao Fu smiled and said, I need information about her. Help me collect some. Ingmu nodded. Following this, Zhao Fu sat on a chair and looked at the information that Ingmu gave him. As someone from the Shadowfish clan, Ingmu naturally understood the Shadowfish clan the best, so he had collected a lot of information. However, what surprised Zhao Fu was a rule of the Shadowfish clan. The Shadowfish clan forbade the women of the Shadowfish clan from interacting with men. If they did, they would be severely punished. If they married a man, it would be a capital offense, unless they personally killed the man they loved. The Shadowfish clan was quite strange, but they relied on parthenogenesis, which meant that women could get pregnant and give birth by themselves without relying on men. Now, Zhao Fu understood why those people had looked at him like that. He had only seen women and not men from the Shadowfish clan. Zhao Fu felt that with this rule, things will be much easier. He continued to look at the information. An hour later, Zhao Fu had a plan. He left Ingkoan's residence and headed towards Lian's home. According to Ingmu's information, Lian did not have any hobbies or relatives. Most importantly, she had a mystic cat at home. If he could get his hands on this mystic cat, he would be able to subdue Lian. Zhao Fu went to Lian's residence. In order to prevent others from intruding and to protect her cat, she had set up many restrictions and formations. This was not a problem for Zhao Fu, as he had the number 1 evil immortal bloodline, so he was good at breaking through restrictions and formations. Most importantly, Shadow Lotus had received a quest and had to leave for 2 to 3 days. This made things even more convenient for Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu came to a hidden corner and his body started to disappear. He turned invisible and slowly surged toward Lian's place. Not long after, Zhao Fu entered the interior. There were all kinds of toys and meat inside. It looked like they were all for the cats to eat and play with. It could be seen that Lian really loved her cat. After taking a few steps, a black shadow quickly attacked Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu immediately released a defensive barrier around his body. Bang! A black cat the size of a tiger slammed into the barrier, its eyes glaring at Zhao Fu. Looking at the black cat, Zhao Fu revealed a surprised expression. He didn't expect the cat to be so big. The black cat raised its paw and vigorously clawed at Zhao Fu's barrier, drawing out 5 black claw marks as it swiped towards Zhao Fu. This claw almost tore apart the barrier. This black cat's strength was not weak at all. Seeing that the black cat still wanted to attack, Zhao Fu immediately slammed out with a powerful palm. The black cat agilely jumped up, dodging Zhao Fu's attack. Zhao Fu turned and looked at the black cat and gave a trace of a smile. The black cat stared at Zhao Fu and gave a low, warning growl. Zhao Fu smiled as he said, I don't want to hurt you, so come with me. I'm a good person. Just as he finished speaking, the black cat appeared in front of Zhao Fu like a black blur, opening its mouth and biting towards Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu leaned to the side and kicked out, sending the black cat flying. The black cat landed on the ground and angrily looked at Zhao Fu. It opened its mouth and countless rays of black light gathered, forming a watermelon-sized black ball that quickly shot towards Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu could not allow this black ball to explode, as it would definitely attract attention. As such, many pale white tendrils grew out of its body, quickly wrapping around the incoming black ball and devouring its power. The black cat quickly rushed in front of Zhao Fu and vigorously clawed at Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu controlled the pale white tendrils to shoot towards the black cat. Just as the tendrils were about to bind the black cat slashed out with its claws, shattering the tendrils. Zhao Fu immediately grew even more pale white tendrils and shot them towards the black cat. The black cat quickly dodged. Zhao Fu looked at the black cat and coldly harumphed, "Since you won't listen to me, don't blame me." Clang, clang, clang. The golden pupil in Zhao Fu's left eye quickly spun, and hundreds and thousands of chains shot out from the air towards the black cat. The black cat waved its claws randomly, creating a series of afterimages as it tore apart the incoming chains. Clanging sounds rang out continuously as the shattered chains danced in the air. However, there were simply too many chains, and the black cat could see that it was about to be unable to block them all. Suddenly, the black cat stopped and gave a terrifying cry towards Zhao Fu. The black cat's fur stood on end, and a powerful aura spread out. Swish, 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 countless cat hairs shot towards Zhao Fu like black spikes, seeming as if they were going to pierce through everything. The black spikes immediately shattered the chains and continued towards Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu started to use his true self, and the chains formed a wall in front of him, blocking the countless black spikes. Following this, his left eye shot out a trace of sword chi, which tore through everything and shot towards the black cat. The black cat wanted to dodge, but it was too late. Its body was hit by the sword chi, causing a bloody hole to appear, from which blood continuously flowed out. The sword chi contained nirvana sword energy, making it so that the wound could not heal, and blood continuously flowed out. The black cat felt that it was not a match for Zhao Fu, so it leapt out of the room. Zhao Fu immediately controlled many chains to shoot out, binding the black cat's right leg, and he vigorously pulled, dragging the black cat to the ground. The black cat vigorously struggled and used its mouth to bite the chains, continuously breaking them. Zhao Fu's expression was calm as he controlled even more chains and shot them towards the black cat. He came in front of the black cat and released a massive might, making it difficult for the black cat to move. The chains tightly bound the black cat. Zhao Fu's expression was calm as he controlled even more chains to shoot towards the black cat. The black cat furiously glared at Zhao Fu and gave a low roar, as if it wanted to eat Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu coldly harumphed and did not show any mercy. Countless chains gave off arcs of lightning and struck the black cat's body, causing it to cry out in pain. It immediately became much more well-behaved and did not dare to act like that towards Zhao Fu. Only then did Zhao Fu give a satisfied look. He first suppressed the black cat's power before taking it away. Of course, Zhao Fu also left a letter for Ying Lian. Chapter 3292. Book 1. Chapter 236. 2 days later, Ying Lian came back and saw that her house was in a mess. She was shocked and hurriedly looked for her cat, but she couldn't find it. In the end, she found a letter left by Zhao Fu. She opened it and left angrily. Zhao Fu only wrote a few words: "Come to the East Mountain quickly, or I'll treat you to cat meat." As a cat lover, Ying Lian was naturally very angry when she heard that Zhao Fu wanted to eat her cat. Ying Lian came to the East Mountain. She said coldly, "Get out here." The void began to distort, and a cloaked person appeared in front of Ying Lian. Ying Lian looked at Zhao Fu and asked coldly, "Where's my cat?" Zhao Fu smiled and said, "It's fine now." Ying Lian breathed a sigh of relief and asked, "What do you want with my cat?" Zhao Fu smiled and said, "I want you to do something for me first." Ying Lian asked, "What is it?" Zhao Fu smiled and said, "Help me catch the person ranked 8th in the top 10 assassins." Ying Lian coldly snorted, "That's impossible." Zhao Fu revealed a threatening smile and said, "Then don't blame me." Ying Lian stared at Zhao Fu, "If you dare to touch my cat, I'll definitely tear you into pieces." Zhao Fu said, In that case, there's nothing more to say. Ying Lian was worried about the cat and quickly said, "Wait, you can change your condition, I'll definitely agree to it." Zhao Fu smiled and said, "Really?" Ying Lian nodded. Zhao Fu chuckled and said, "All right. Seeing that you're pitiful, as long as you dual cultivate with me once, I'll let your cat go." Ying Lian said angrily, "No way." Zhao Fu looked at Ying Lian and said, "Are you sure? I'm really leaving this time. It's useless for you to regret it, just wait for cat meat at home." Ying Lian hesitated for a moment, then made up her mind. "Okay, but what if you don't let my cat go?" Zhao Fu smiled. "You can trust me on this. I'm not very interested in cat meat." Ying Lian closed her eyes and said, "Hurry up." Zhao Fu walked over with a smile. Ying Mu and Ying Ju watched as Zhao Fu destroyed the shadow lotus. Ying Mu smiled and said, "I knew she was a woman on the inside. Let's see if she still dares to go against me in the future." Ying Ku said seriously, "He is the only one who can make a few almighty experts suffer such a loss. And he is only an emptiness realm expert. If he becomes a almighty expert, he will be invincible in this world." Ying Mu smiled and said, "Big sis, are you satisfied with such a man?" Kage's face turned red. "He's just too overbearing. It would be perfect if he could be more devoted to his relationship." Ying Mu smiled and nodded. A few hours passed. Ying Lian rolled her eyes at Zhao Fu and said, "Is that okay now? Where's my cat?" Zhao Fu smiled and waved his hand. A cat as big as a tiger appeared. When the black cat saw Zhao Fu, its eyes were filled with fear. It stayed where it was and didn't dare to move because it had been scolded by Zhao Fu for the past 2 days. Ying Lian smiled and ran to the black cat. She checked and found nothing wrong. The black cat looked at its master with a wronged expression. It rubbed its head against Ying Lian's body and whimpered as if it was complaining. Ying Lian rubbed the black cat's head and looked at Zhao Fu. She said coldly, "Now, get out before I change my mind." Zhao Fu didn't seem to care and said, "Why should I get out?" Ying Lian said coldly, "Do you think I won't kill you? You scum, you used this method to get me. Now, I will chop you up and feed you to my cat." Boom! A powerful force burst out of Shadow Lotus' body, forming an invisible force field around it. Ying Lian stretched out a hand and grabbed at Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu still didn't look afraid. Just as Ying Lian was about to grab Zhao Fu, the black cat revealed a pained expression and fell to the ground. Ying Lian hurriedly stopped and injected some power into the black cat's body. She found that there was a bloodline power corroding it. Ying Lian immediately used her own power to destroy this power. Boom! A muffled sound rang out. Not only did Ying Lian's power not destroy the bloodline power, but it also injured the black cat. The black cat's body trembled and blood flowed out of the corner of its mouth. Ying Lian looked shocked. What kind of power is this? Why can't she get rid of it? Ying Lian wanted to try again and injected some power into the black cat's body. Zhao Fu smiled and said, "Don't waste your energy. With your power, you can't get rid of my power unless you invite an immortal." Ying Lian glared at Zhao Fu. "Who are you? Why do you have such great power?" Zhao Fu smiled and said, "You don't need to know who I am. Just listen to me and I won't miss out on anything delicious." Ying Lian coldly harumphed, "You want to subdue me so easily? Stop dreaming. If my cat dies, I'll make sure you die with it." Zhao Fu smiled and said, "You can try now. I'm just a clone and you can't kill me. Also, I'll leak this news. At that time, not only will your cat die, but you will also be at a disadvantage." Ying Lian said angrily, "You despicable and shameless bastard." Zhao Fu came in front of Ying Lian with a pleased expression. "I'm like this, what can you do to me?" Ying Lian gritted her teeth and glared at Zhao Fu. "Ying Lian, how do you feel?" A figure sounded out from behind Ying Lian. Hearing the familiar voice, Ying Lian turned her head and said with a cold expression, "So it was you who plotted against me. Also, Ying Go, when did you wake up?" Ying Mu smiled and said, Well, it's your fault for always going against me. I'll let you suffer a bit, but you seem to enjoy it just now. We can just watch from the side. Ing Lien blushed and felt a sense of shame. She said angrily, We're from the same clan. Do you think it's good for you to treat me like this? I'll immediately report this to the clan leader, and ask her to give me an explanation. Ingus smiled and said, You can try. If the clan leader finds out that you've been taken by a man, do you think she'll treat you well? How will everyone look at you in the future? You should know that our clan's rule is not to interact with men. In the end, your cat will also die. I'll feed it to the fishes and leave nothing for you. Ing Lien said coldly, What exactly do you want? Ingus smiled and said, Nothing, I just want you to support me. If I become the clan leader in the future, it'll be quite beneficial to you. Ing Lien looked at Ingu and said, You're quite ambitious. Ingus smiled and said, So, do you agree or not? Ing Lien coldly harumphed and said, I agree. Chapter 3293. Book 1, Chapter 237. Zhao Fu gave a trace of a smile as he said, All right. Let's all get along in the future. Hearing this, Ing Lien could not take it anymore and pinched Zhao Fu, causing Zhao Fu to gasp in pain. After letting out a sigh of relief, Ing Lien felt much better. Zhao Fu knew that he was in the wrong, but he did not say anything and had the black cat's bloodline power stop. The black cat was no longer in so much pain, and it looked at Zhao Fu in fear. Ing Lien hugged her cat and started to comfort it. Zhao Fu looked at Ing Lien and said, This is the first one, and there are still 7 left. After you're done, remember to give me information about the omniscient water world. Ing Lien looked at Zhao Fu and asked, What kind of deal did you make with them? Zhao Fu smiled as he said, She promised that if I help her become the chief, she'll give me information about the omniscient water world. Ing Lien said, You're obeying her for just information about the omniscient water world? Zhao Fu smiled as he shook his head, I'm not obeying her, I'm helping her. You're all my women now. Ing Lien rolled her eyes at Zhao Fu and said, Who wants to be your woman? Ing Mu's body gave off a blue light as an omniscient water seal appeared on his chest. Sensing this power, Ing Lien looked at Ing Mu in shock and said, This is the omniscient water world's power? Ing Mu smiled and nodded, saying, He's already collected 4 omniscient water worlds and can give us the omniscient water seal. You should understand how useful this power is to us. Ing Lien turned to look at Zhao Fu and said, I want one too. Ing Mu lightly laughed as he said, Weren't you unwilling to become his woman? Ing Lien said, None of your business. Zhao Fu smiled as he said, I'll give it to you later. Ing Lien smiled as she said, How will Great Shun deal with Ing Yin? Ing Yin was the 8th-ranked person, and her weapon was a short sword hidden within a jade flute. She liked to play the flute and had a good relationship with everyone else. Ing Lien could not help but say, You bastard, don't bully her like you bullied me. Otherwise, I'll avenge her. Zhao Fu smiled. Yes, I know. Bang. A muffled sound rang out as a gentle-looking woman with long black hair and a brown mask fell to the ground. There was a white jade flute at her waist, and she gave off a gentle aura. She looked at the man who had fallen to the ground in front of her with a surprised expression. This place was near the Shadowfish clan. Looking at the man's perfect face, as well as his extraordinary temperament, Ing Yin blushed slightly. Although the clan's rules forbade her from interacting with men, sometimes she would inadvertently fantasize about meeting her sweetheart. The moment she saw this man, Ing Yin's silent heart started beating faster. He felt that he had found that person. Ing Yin went forward to examine the man's injuries and discovered that they were very serious. She did not dare to bring the man back to the Shadowfish clan, so she could only find a nearby city and buy a secluded courtyard to begin treating the man's injuries. After half a day, the man slowly opened his eyes and looked at Ing Yin as he asked with a cold expression, Who are you? Ing Yin explained, Your injuries were very serious, so I saved you. The man looked around and did not say anything. He weakly tried to stand up and leave this place. In reminded him, "Your injuries haven't healed yet. Rest here for a few days before leaving." The man ignored her and got off the bed, staggering towards the door. Suddenly, he accidentally fell to the ground. In immediately hugged the man who was about to fall. The man's jet-black eyes stared at her, causing Yin's heart to flutter. Her cheeks started to redden. The man struggled free from Yin's embrace and continued to walk forward. However, after taking a few steps, he fell to the ground again. Yin hugged the man and said, "I already said that you're very weak. Rest here for a few days before leaving." The man did not say anything and allowed Yin to carry him back. After a while, Yin brewed a bowl of tonic medicine and brought it in front of the man as she said, "I brewed this with many kinds of elixirs. It will be very beneficial for your injuries. I'll feed you now." The man said, "I'll do it myself. I don't need your help." Yin did not say anything and placed the tonic medicine at the side. The man held the spoon with great difficulty and drank the medicine bit by bit. He accidentally spilled the medicine on the bed. Yin could not stand it anymore and said, "Let me help you." Hearing this, the man looked at Yin and said simply, "Thank you." Hearing this, Yin was a little happy. She understood that the other party had accepted her. She immediately picked up the medicine and fed it to the man. The relationship between the two of them became much closer. The man did not ask about Yin's identity, and Yin did not ask about the man's identity either. A day later, the man regained some strength. He took out a zither and gently plucked it. A moving note floated in the air. Yin was a little surprised. "Do you like music too?" The man looked at her and simply replied, "Yes." Yin smiled and said, "What song are you playing? I feel like I'm in the middle of a high mountain and flowing water. The strings are moving." The man reached out and handed a music sheet to Yin. The words, "high mountain and flowing water," were written on it. Yin looked at it curiously. Then, she could not help but play it. The man did not say anything. He played along with Yin. The sound floated in the air, giving people an indescribable feeling. Unknowingly, the relationship between the two of them became closer. It was the third day. Yin was a little disappointed as she watched the man pack up his things and prepare to leave. Although they had only known each other for a short period of time, Yin felt very happy. She had never felt this kind of happiness before. The man packed up and walked out of the door. Yin could not help but ask, "Where are you going?" The man said, "This is my business. Don't ask too much." Yin said expectantly, "Will you come back?" The man turned to look at Yin and said, "I understand your feelings, but we can't be together." Hearing this, Yin felt sad. The man turned and walked out of the door. Yin hugged the man from behind and said with tears in her eyes, "I also know that we can't be together, but you're the first man who has moved my heart. I want to remember you forever." Hearing this, the man turned to look at Yin. Yin looked at the man's face and took the initiative to kiss him. After some time, Yin lay in the man's arms with a blissful expression. She smiled and said, "Husband." The man grunted softly. Yin smiled and said, "Can you tell me your name?" The man said, "No." Yin smiled and said, "Okay, I understand. Will you accompany me for a few more days?" The man looked at Yin's expectant expression and said, "I'll stay here for 2 days at most." Yin said happily, "Thank you, husband." Chapter 3294. Book 1, Chapter 238. For the next 2 days, Yin changed into a normal set of clothes. Like a virtuous wife, she washed the clothes and cooked for the man. Because there were only 2 days, Yin treasured it. After 2 days of sweet living, the man was preparing to leave. Yin's heart was in pain, but she wore a smile on her face. She stood by the side and looked at the man, not saying anything. Seeing the man pack up and take a step out of the door, Yin could not help but cry, "Can I leave with you?" The man said coldly, "No." Ingine lowered her head and cried, "You be ****starred, using this method to bully women again. You're a scum." A familiar voice sounded. Ingine was stunned. She looked up and saw Ing Lien pinching the man angrily. "What's going on?" Ingine looked at the scene in front of her blankly. Zhao Fu broke free from Ing Lien's grip and explained, "I really didn't use the previous method. Can you blame me?" Ing Lien snorted, "That won't do." Ing Lien still wanted to pinch Zhao Fu, but Zhao Fu hugged her. "Ing Lien." Ingine called out when she saw the scene before her. Ing Lien turned to look at Ingine and glared at Zhao Fu. She broke free from Zhao Fu's embrace and came to Ingine, saying, "You've been tricked by this ****starred. He planned it from the start. He pretended to be injured to have feelings for you." Ingine felt a tearing pain in her heart. She looked at Zhao Fu with tears in her eyes. She did not believe that everything was fake. Zhao Fu smiled and walked forward to hug Ingine. He comforted her, "Don't cry. I promise that my feelings for you are true. Moreover, we can be together in the future." Ingine asked, "Why did you lie to me?" Zhao Fu smiled and said, "Because I want you." Ingine looked at Zhao Fu and snorted, "You can't lie to me in the future. Otherwise, I'll never forgive you." Zhao Fu smiled and said, "Okay, I promise." Ingine said, "Now, you can tell me what happened." Ing Lien briefly explained what happened. Ingine revealed a shocked expression. "You have such a great background?" Zhao Fu smiled. Ingine said, "At first, I was worried that I would be punished for liking you, but now I don't have to worry anymore. I can support you." Zhao Fu said with a smile, "Thank you." Ingine smiled and hugged Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu returned to Kage's residence and said with a smile, "The matter has been resolved. Kage promised to support you." Shadow Mu chuckled and said, "No woman can resist your charm." Zhao Fu smiled confidently and said, "Of course. Just like how men can't resist the temptation of beautiful women, women can't resist the temptation of handsome men." Kage said, "There are still 6 left. Hurry up." Zhao Fu smiled and said, "Look at how tired I am. You don't know how to understand me." Kage rolled his eyes at Zhao Fu. "You still want others to sympathize with you?" Zhao Fu smiled and said, "All right. Give me the next piece of information." Next was the 7th-ranked assassin called Shadow Mu. This woman was quite perverted. She often liked to kill people and bring their corpses back to plant flowers. Her methods were quite cruel, and she would dig out the eyes and cut off the tongues. Her relationship with everyone else was not very good, and she did not offend anyone. However, if anyone offended her, she would not be merciful towards those from the same clan. Looking at this information, Zhao Fu found that she was quite difficult to deal with and had to use special method. That night, a figure snuck into a room and came to a middle-aged man's holy beast and covered his mouth. The man looked terrified as the figure vigorously struggled. The figure gave a cruel smile and used a dagger to slowly slit the man's throat. She watched as the middle-aged man slowly died in despair before quickly leaving with the corpse. However, she was quickly blocked by 3 cloaked people. The figure was a woman with a fiery figure. She wore tight black clothes and wore a black mask. She had short black hair and looked quite ferocious looking. She was Shadow Mu. Shadow Mu's expression became serious. "Who are you?" The 3 of them did not reply and quickly attacked Shadow Mu. A few hours later, after a large battle, Shadow Mu was heavily injured by the 3 of them and her power was forcefully sealed. Shadow Mu said coldly, "Who are you?" No one replied to her. Shadow Mu then said, "I'm from the Shadowfish clan. Let me know what grievances there are between us." However, no one replied and they brought her to a forest, where there was already a man waiting. The 3 of them threw Shadow Mu down and left. Shadow Mu understood that the man in front of her was the mastermind and said coldly, "Just who are you?" Zhao Fu smiled as he said, "You'll find out in the future." Shadow Mu said coldly, "Do you know the consequences of touching me?" Let me go and you'll still have a chance. Zhao Fu gave an evil smile as he said, Of course I know, I still want you. Shadow Mu viciously glared at Zhao Fu, You'll die a horrible death. I can guarantee that no matter where you run, it'll be useless. Zhao Fu lifted Shadow Mu's chin and said, All right, I'll wait. Following this, Zhao Fu started to educate Shadow Mu, causing her temper and personality to change. When she woke up from her coma, she looked at the man in front of her and said, You can let go of me now. Zhao Fu lightly smiled and said, Why aren't you calling me master anymore? Shadow Mu glared at Zhao Fu and said, Say it. What else do you want to do to me? Zhao Fu smiled and said, I don't want to do anything, but I'll spread the news about you. Shadow Mu angrily said, You dare. Zhao Fu smiled and said, Why wouldn't I dare? Not only that, I'll also cripple your cultivation and make you a cripple for the rest of your life. Shadow Mu's expression was unsightly. This was worse than killing her. Zhao Fu smiled as he looked at Shadow Mu in his arms and said, What should I do to you now? Shadow Mu coldly said, Master. Zhao Fu smiled and said, That's more like it. Shadow Mu said, Now undo the seal. Zhao Fu lightly smiled and said, If I undo it, you'll definitely kill me, right? Shadow Mu coldly laughed and said, Not only will I kill you, but I'll also tear you to pieces. Zhao Fu smiled as he took out a piece of jade and pressed it against Shadow Mu's body. The jade fused into her body and many rays of light shot out as Shadow Mu's seal was slowly undone. Shadow Mu looked quite surprised. She had never thought that Zhao Fu would really undo the seal. She looked at Zhao Fu and said, You're really not afraid that I'll kill you? Zhao Fu smiled and said, Are you willing? Shadow Mu indeed did not dare to make a move because Zhao Fu's origins were too mysterious. Moreover, she was worried that Zhao Fu had other methods and said, What's your goal? Zhao Fu Xiongze said, If I want to control your Shadowfish clan, I first have to control the top 10 assassins, and you're the 5th. Chapter 3295. Book 1, Chapter 239. Ing Mu showed a shocked expression. Zhao Fu smiled as he said, I'll give you a present. Ing Mu asked, What present? Just as she spoke, blue lights shot out from her chest, and an octagonal mark appeared. Ing Mu said in shock, This is the power of the 8 Directions Water World. Zhao Fu smiled as he said, I treat you well, right? There will be many benefits for you in the future. Ing Mu lightly harumphed as she said, Not bad. Zhao Fu hugged Ing Mu and said, Let's go. We've been here for a few days. Ing Mu nodded. Following this, Zhao Fu went to Ing Mu's residence. There was a very large flower field here that was filled with blood-red roses. There were many corpses buried under the ground, which was why the peonies were so beautiful. After ravaging Ing Mu, Zhao Fu returned to Ing Mu's residence and smiled as he said to Ing Gu, Next. Ing Gu smiled as she nodded. Next is the 6th-ranked Ingling. This should be very easy for you. Zhao Fu smiled as he said, What's the reason? Ing Gu smiled as she said, She's also looking for the 8 Directions Water World and wants to obtain its power to cultivate a type of shadow water saint body. Zhao Fu said as he smiled, I got it. They came to a large hall and saw a woman wearing a black mask and tight black clothes. She had straight long hair and gave off a cold and aloof feeling. She was Ingling. Ingling looked at Zhao Fu and said, You have the 8 Directions Water World? Zhao Fu smiled as he said, Yes. Ingling said, Take it out and let me see. Zhao Fu stretched out a hand and an 8 Directions Water World floated out, giving off a blue light. Ingling's eyes lit up. This was the 8 Directions Water World that she had been looking for, and she could not help but smile as she said, What do you want in exchange? Zhao Fu smiled and said, This 8-directional water world has already recognized me as its master. I can give you the power of the 8-directional water world and even help you cultivate. In exchange, you need to become my woman. Shadowling's expression turned cold. This is the Shadowfish clan. If you dare to make such a request here, aren't you courting death? Also, I will not become your woman just because of this. Zhao Fu said with a smile, that's fine too. Just accompany me once. Shadow said coldly. This won't do. Zhao Fu said with a smile, then I'll be leaving. I heard that you've been looking for a food-mixing world for more than 10 years. You should know how hard it is to find one. Yingling released a powerful wave of power. I can kill you and snatch your omniscient water world. Zhao Fu smiled and said, you can't kill me because I'm just a clone. Even if you kill me, you won't be able to obtain anything. Hearing this, Yingling was put in a difficult position. Zhao Fu smiled as he called out, I'll ask you one last time. Do you agree or not? Yingling thought about the omniscient water world that he had been looking for so long and thought about his divine physique. He gritted his teeth and said, yes. Zhao Fu walked up and hugged Yingling as he coldly smiled and said, that's more like it. Yingling coldly looked at Zhao Fu and did not struggle. A few hours later, Yingling looked at Zhao Fu and said, can you give me the omniscient water world's power now? Zhao Fu smiled and said, I've been giving it to you this entire time. Yingling looked quite startled and sensed the power within his body, causing him to smile in delight. Zhao Fu smiled and said, I'll help you cultivate. Yingling looked at Zhao Fu and nodded. Boom. The 4th day passed, and a massive explosion sounded out as countless traces of black water flowed into Yingling's body. Yingyu's body started to change, gradually turning into a massive blob of black water that gave off an even more powerful power. Zhao Fu stood by the side and did not disturb her. This was a crucial moment for Yingling. The massive blob of black water continuously spun, forming a vortex that drew in the surrounding heaven and earth power and poured it into it. A portion of Zhao Fu's power was absorbed. Bang! A muffled explosion sounded out as the black water vortex exploded, turning into countless water droplets that shot out. Yingyu's body appeared at the center, and his body was surrounded by a black aura. The feeling that Yingling gave off was different from before, and it felt dark and mysterious. Zhao Fu smiled as he said, congratulations. Yingling looked at Zhao Fu. After a few days of intimate contact, coupled with the fact that Zhao Fu had been helping her cultivate, Yingling's attitude towards Zhao Fu had become much better, and she smiled as she said, thank you. Zhao Fu smiled as he said, now that you've succeeded, it's time for me to leave. Yingling said, you're leaving just like that? Zhao Fu looked at Yingling and lightly smiled as he said, what else do you want? Do you still want me to take responsibility for you? Yingling said, you can leave then. Zhao Fu smiled as he said, if you want me to stay, I'm willing to take responsibility for you. Yingling gave a trace of a smile as she said, you can stay. Zhao Fu smiled as he went up and hugged Yingling. Yingling leaned against Zhao Fu and said worriedly, now that I've broken the Shadowfish clan's rules, if news of this gets out, I might be punished, and your life will be in danger. You can't leak this matter. Hearing this, Zhao Fu smiled as he said, don't worry about this. Don't worry about that, I'll take care of it. Yingling asked, how will you take care of it? Zhao Fu smiled as he said, you'll know in the future. Yingling said, now that I've obtained the Shadowwater Holy Body, I have the qualifications to compete for the clan leader. If I become the clan leader, everything will be much better. Zhao Fu said in surprise, you also want to become the clan leader? Yingling nodded. Zhao Fu thought about it and said, I know, but I have to leave now. I'll come back to see you later. Yingling smiled as he said, be careful. Zhao Fu smiled as he said, and after returning to Yingji's residence, Yinggu looked at Zhao Fu and asked, why are you so busy? Are you waiting to help her cultivate? Zhao Fu sat on a chair and said, yes, why? Yinggu said, that kind of physique is very difficult to obtain. For our Shadowfish clan, it's the best kind of physique. Zhao Fu smiled as he said, I'm just helping her one last time. Ingus said, if you hadn't controlled her, she would have been a strong candidate to compete for the clan leader position in the future. Zhao Fu said, she indeed wants to become the clan leader. Hearing this, Ingus said angrily, then why are you still helping her? Zhao Fu smiled as he said, in the future we'll be a family. I won't be biased towards water. You see, I've been working hard to help you. Ingus snorted, I won't haggle with you. After you obtain the 6 water worlds, give me the 6 water heavenly seal. Zhao Fu asked curiously, what is the 6 water heavenly seal? Ingus explained, this is an ability that can only be obtained by controlling the 6 water worlds of the 8 directions. I also got this information from other places. Chapter 3296. Book 1, Book 2, Chapter 240. Zhao Fu thought about how he had already obtained 4 8-direction water worlds and was only missing 2 more before he knew what the 6 water sky mark was used for, so he smiled and said, no problem. Kage gave a trace of a smile and said, now, there are only 4 assassins left. From what I know about them, they're quite difficult to deal with, so you need to be prepared. Zhao Fu lightly laughed as he said, I know, give me the information. Kage handed the information to Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu sat by the side and hugged Kage as he looked through the information. He found that there was nothing that could threaten them, and they did not need anything either. This was quite difficult, and without these things, Zhao Fu would not be able to threaten them. Kage smiled as she lay in Zhao Fu's embrace and said, is it very difficult? Zhao Fu replied, if it's not possible, we can work together to capture them one by one. Kage said, that won't do, they're incredibly powerful and will cause chaos in the Shadowfish clan. When that time comes, who knows what kind of losses they'll suffer, and I don't want to see that. As such, it's better to use a gentle method. Kage smiled as she said, also, aren't you very good at seducing women? You can try seducing them. Zhao Fu rolled his eyes at Kage as he said, am I that kind of person? Kage smiled as she said, you have the nerve to say such a thing? Zhao Fu pressed Kage against the carpet, causing her face to become red, and she turned her head away, looking as if she would let Zhao Fu do whatever he wanted. Looking at her like this, Zhao Fu lightly laughed as he stood up and said, all right, I'll give it a try. Kage felt quite disappointed and glared at Zhao Fu. The 4th-ranked assassin was Ying Fei. Because her mother had fallen in love with a man, she had been severely punished and died not long after. No one knew whether her father was dead or alive, and this caused Ying Fei to hate men and kill countless men. Zhao Fu wondered if he would be killed if he appeared in front of her. After thinking about it, Zhao Fu decided to sneak into Ying Fei's home and investigate. Perhaps he would be able to obtain something useful. Ying Fei wasn't home right now, and even though there were many restrictions, they were useless to Zhao Fu. After a short while, Zhao Fu easily snuck into Ying Fei's home and began to search for useful things or information. After searching for half an hour, Zhao Fu did not find anything useful and frowned. If he continued to stay here, it would be even more dangerous. Moreover, with a higher being's keen senses, he would definitely notice that someone had entered her house to look for something. If he wanted to enter her house again, it would be incredibly difficult and dangerous. Zhao Fu decided to continue searching for a while. If he couldn't find it, he would leave immediately. He wouldn't come back a second time. At that moment, Zhao Fu accidentally touched a painting on the wall. This painting was 1 meter long and 1 meter wide, and it was a painting of mountains and rivers. Zhao Fu felt that this painting was quite extraordinary and immediately sent a wave of energy into it. The painting started to change, and a door appeared. Zhao Fu tested it and found that he could enter it, so Zhao Fu hesitated before flying in. Zhao Fu came to a simple courtyard. The house was made of wood and straw and there were only 3 rooms. There were some flowers and grass in the courtyard, and there was a fence made of bamboo. What was this place? Zhao Fu felt quite curious. A mature, beautiful woman walked out from the courtyard and looked at Zhao Fu in confusion as she asked, "Who are you?" Seeing the beautiful woman, Zhao Fu gave a trace of an evil smile. The mature woman's expression became quite unsightly as she warned, "Please leave immediately. If my daughter comes back, you'll suffer a terrible fate." Hearing this, Zhao Fu seemed to understand something and smiled as he said, "Your daughter?" The mature woman understood that she had said something wrong and immediately shut her mouth. Zhao Fu laughed as he said, "Your daughter should be Fei, right? How daring to hide you here. Do you know what punishment she'll receive if news of this gets out?" The mature woman's expression became quite unsightly. She knew what the consequences would be and she quickly said, "I can go out and accept the clan's punishment, but please don't leak this matter. I'm begging you. I don't want to implicate my daughter." Zhao Fu walked up and hugged the mature woman. The mature woman vigorously struggled and said, "Let go of me." Zhao Fu smiled threateningly as he said, "If you don't want news of this to get out, you'd better behave, or else you and your daughter will suffer a terrible fate." Hearing this, the mature woman glared at Zhao Fu furiously. Around an hour later, a slim woman with blue eyes and hair tied into a whip returned home. She wore a mask and black tight-fitting clothes, and she gave off a solemn and oppressive aura. She was Fei. After entering the house, Fei sensed that something was off. She immediately went to the room and entered the painting. Looking at this intense scene, Fei's eyes flashed with intense killing intent, and she raised her hand, preparing to blast it towards Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu hugged the mature woman and blocked in front of her, forcing Fei to stop. Seeing that her daughter had returned, the beautiful middle-aged woman looked quite embarrassed and tried to break free. However, she could not break free from Zhao Fu's embrace. Fei coldly said, "Let go of my mother." Zhao Fu lightly laughed as he said, "If I let her go, you'll definitely kill me." Fei said, "I can let you die quickly, or I'll slowly torture you to death." Zhao Fu smiled as he said, "Then it's even more impossible for me to let her go." The mature woman angrily cursed, "You bastard, let go of me." Zhao Fu did not let go of the mature woman and smiled as he looked at Fei and said, "You're quite bold to hide your mother here. If it wasn't for me being careful, I wouldn't have discovered it. Do you know the consequences if news of this spreads?" Fei coldly said, "What do you want?" Zhao Fu smiled as he said, "Seal your power and come serve me." Fei was so furious that she laughed and said, "I'll kill you now and escape with my mother. If I kill you, news of this might not spread." Zhao Fu smiled as he said, "Firstly, I'm only sending a clone in. Secondly, I'm controlling your mother's body. If you dare to attack me, she'll definitely die." The mature woman turned to look at Fei and said, "Daughter, don't worry about me. I'm already satisfied after so many years." Zhao Fu immediately activated that power to corrode the mature woman, causing her to reveal a pained expression. Looking at her mother's pained expression, Fei furiously said, "Enough, I have great willpower." Zhao Fu gave a trace of a smile and stopped tormenting the mature woman. The mature woman hurriedly cried as she shook her head, "Daughter, don't agree to this bastard." Fei slowly sealed her power and walked over to Zhao Fu with a cold expression. Zhao Fu brought her into his embrace and started ravaging her. Chapter 3297. Book 1. Chapter 241. The next day, as soon as Fei woke up, he grabbed Zhao Fu's throat with one hand. Zhao Fu wasn't afraid and said with a smile, "You want to kill me as soon as you wake up?" Fei said coldly, "What else do you have to say?" Zhao Fu said with a smile, "I don't have anything to say. Kill me if you want. I won't die anyways." The beautiful woman was called Nu. She advised, "Daughter, stop. It's useless to kill him." Hearing this, Fei stopped. Zhao Fu kissed Nu and said with a smile, "Thank you for saving me." Nu rolled her eyes at Zhao Fu and said, I don't want to kill a bastard like you. Tell me, what do you want? Zhao Fu said with a smile. I want you to listen to me. Moreover, you won't be punished individually in the future. I will cancel this rule. Ing Fei snorted and said, Who do you think you are? Do you have this ability? Zhao Fu said with a smile, Now, you are the 7th person I control. Ing Fei frowned and said, What do you mean? Zhao Fu said with a smile, I already control 7 of the 10 great assassins. There are only 3 left, and I will be able to control the 10 great assassins. Hearing this, Ing Fei was shocked and said, How is this possible? Zhao Fu said with a smile, You don't have to doubt my ability. If I can't do it, I can ask them to come with me. Ing Fei said doubtfully, You are only an emptiness realm expert. How can you control them? Zhao Fu said with a smile, You still don't know? Ing Fei thought of his situation and immediately understood. He scolded angrily, You despicable bastard! Zhao Fu laughed and hugged Ing Fei. I won't treat you badly. I will also give you the 8-directional water seal. Hearing this, Ing Fei checked his body and found that there was indeed a powerful force. This force was actually the power of the legendary 8-directional water world. Zhao Fu said with a smile, How do you feel? Ing Fei lightly snorted, Don't think that I can forgive you just because of this. Also, if you dare to deceive my feelings, I will definitely kill you. Zhao Fu said with a smile. I know. The Shadow Maiden couldn't help but sigh. Zhao Fu turned his head to look at the Shadow Lady and asked, What's wrong? The Shadow Lady shook her head. Ing Fei gave a brief recount of the past. It turned out that Ing Fei's father was a promiscuous scumbag. After getting the Shadow Girl, he did not take responsibility and even abandoned her. As a result, the Shadow Girl was punished by the clan. That punishment was called fishbone, which was to tie someone to a place and release a type of shadowfish. These shadowfish were like long needles that continuously pierced people's bodies, causing them to feel intense pain. Originally, the Shadow Girl had to endure a year of fish bone punishment. However, the Shadow Girl could not bear to see her mother suffer such pain, so she faked her death to deceive everyone. After that, the Shadow Girl continued to live in the painting. The painting was indeed a strange treasure. Zhao Fu was somewhat surprised as he said to Ing Fei, From what you're saying, it seems that you're not that man's daughter? Ing Fei said, Yes, our Shadow Fish clan can reproduce monogamously. My mother gave birth to me a long time ago before meeting that despicable man. Zhao Fu hugged the Shadow Lady and said, Don't worry, I will take responsibility for you. The Shadow Lady looked at Zhao Fu and her attitude towards Zhao Fu softened, temporarily believing Zhao Fu. After returning to Ing Ji's residence, Zhao Fu smiled and said, I've resolved Ing Fei's matter. Ing Gu said in surprise, How did you resolve it? Zhao Fu had promised Ing Fei to keep this matter a secret for the time being, so he smiled and said, I can't tell you now. Ing Gu rolled her eyes at Zhao Fu and said, There are only 3 left. The higher the ranking, the more difficult it is to deal with them. Zhao Fu nodded. Give me the information on the 3rd-ranked person, I'll look into it. Ing Gu took out a document and handed it to Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu opened the document and found that the 3rd-ranked person was called Ingya. She was a refined person and did not find anything that could threaten him. Ing Gu took the initiative to sit in Zhao Fu's embrace and hugged Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu looked at her and smiled as he said, What's the matter? Ing Ji's face became slightly red. Don't talk nonsense. Zhao Fu lightly laughed and the two of them started to become entangled. Following this, Zhao Fu came to Ing Ya's residence and planned to sneak in to see if he could find anything else. It was quite simple. Zhao Fu's body turned formless and rushed forward, passing through many restrictions and array formations before arriving at the house. He started to search. In the end, Zhao Fu searched but did not find anything. Thinking that Ing Ya was a refined person, he went to the study and looked at the books and paintings. Would there be any precious books or paintings? As such, Zhao Fu started to search seriously. Just as Zhao Fu was flipping through a book, a figure appeared behind Zhao Fu and smiled as she asked, "Is it nice?" Hearing these words, Zhao Fu felt quite startled and turned to look. A tall and slim woman wearing tight black clothes and a mask appeared behind him and smiled as she looked at him. Zhao Fu was not in a hurry to run because he could not escape at all. He smiled as he said, "It's nice." Inya lightly laughed as she said, "Then you can stay here and look to your heart's content." Inya's finger was like a sharp blade as it slashed towards Zhao Fu's throat, wanting to kill Zhao Fu here. Zhao Fu hurriedly said, "Wait." Inya smiled as she said, "What is it?" Zhao Fu explained, "You can't kill me, I'm someone else's subordinate." Inya smiled as she said, "Speak. Whose subordinate are you? Tell me your purpose in coming here. Perhaps I can let you live." Zhao Fu thought for a moment before saying, "I'm someone that Lord Yingmu brought back and have the ability to pass through all restrictions and formations. Lord Yingmu sent me in to steal something that can threaten Lord." Zhao Fu's words were 90% true and 10% false. Inya said in surprise, "So you have this kind of ability, no wonder you can silently pass through my restrictions. Also, what is Yingmu's purpose?" Zhao Fu replied, "I'm not sure. If Lord can let me live, I'll definitely listen to Lord's orders." Inya smiled as she said, "Seeing that your ability is quite rare, I can take you in, but you have to eat this first." Inya took out a green medicinal pill. Zhao Fu did not hesitate and swallowed it. Even if he died, it would only be the death of a clone, and it would not affect Zhao Fu's main body. After the medicinal pill entered Zhao Fu's body, it turned into a slender worm and burrowed into Zhao Fu's heart. If Zhao Fu had any other thoughts, this worm would immediately detect them. Inya gave a satisfied smile as she said, "In the future, you have to listen to all of my orders or else you'll be eaten by that poisonous worm." Zhao Fu immediately said, "I'll definitely be loyal to Lord." Inya smiled as she said, "You can go back now. Be careful and don't let anyone discover anything." Zhao Fu nodded. Chapter 3298. A day later, Zhao Fu brought news to Inya. Within the room, Zhao Fu reported, "Sir, I know why Yingdi woke up so quickly. It's because she obtained an 8-direction water world and used its power to recover." Inya sat up and felt quite surprised. So it was because she obtained an 8-direction water world. How did she use its power? Inya sat up and felt quite surprised. So it was because she obtained an 8-direction water world. How did she use its power? Zhao Fu said, "I don't know about that for now. I'll continue to investigate for Sir." Inya smiled and nodded. "You've done well." Zhao Fu said respectfully, "Thank you for your praise, Sir." Inya said, "Don't worry about her for now. Don't you have the ability to pass through all restrictions? I want you to help me investigate Yingdi." Yingdi was the second-ranked assassin. Zhao Fu felt quite troubled. "Sir, she's the second-ranked assassin. Wouldn't it be too dangerous to go there?" Inya smiled as she said, "Don't worry, I'll lure her away for you, and I'll give you plenty of benefits." Zhao Fu asked, "What benefits can Sir give me?" Inya looked at Zhao Fu and smiled as she said, "What do you want?" Zhao Fu looked at Inya and said, "I want you, Sir." Inya lightly laughed, "You're quite bold, but I can agree to this. However, the prerequisite is that you have to obtain something very important." Zhao Fu smiled as he said, "Very well, Sir." Following this, Zhao Fu went to Yingdi's residence and started to look for various things. Yingdi did not seem to have anything to threaten him with, nor did he hear that she had any hobbies. Zhao Fu looked around but did not find anything. Since Yingdi had Inya to keep Yingdi busy, Zhao Fu was not in a hurry and took his time to search. This time, Zhao Fu found a small wooden box within a secret compartment. This small wooden box looked quite ordinary and was protected by powerful restrictions. Zhao Fu tried and found that he could use his mind to pass through the restrictions and enter the wooden box, but he found that there was only a book inside. Zhao Fu's expression froze for a moment before he continued reading the book with a smile on his face. Half a day later, a woman with a mature figure, wearing tight black clothes and a mask, giving off a cold feeling, returned. Yingdi frowned at the man sitting in the room and asked, "Who are you?" Zhao Fu chuckled, "My identity is not important." Yingdi said coldly, "What are you doing here?" Zhao Fu smiled and said, "I'm here to look for something." Yingdi's expression turned cold. A black shadow holding a dagger appeared beside Zhao Fu. The dagger slashed towards Zhao Fu's throat, wanting to kill Zhao Fu. However, Yingdi's expression was one of pain, and many red spots appeared on her body. The black shadow that was attacking Zhao Fu also turned into many black auras and dissipated. Yingdi's expression was quite unsightly as she looked at Zhao Fu and said, "You've found that thing." Zhao Fu smiled and nodded as he took out the wooden box and smiled as he said, "I never thought that you would have such a strange disease." The book was a medical book, and it did not have much information on it. It only said that it was used to treat an illness called water allergy disease. Water allergy disease was a condition where one was very sensitive to water. As soon as one came into contact with water, one's body would have an intense allergic reaction. Red spots would appear on one's body, and one would feel intense pain. It was quite difficult to imagine that a water race that lived in a body of water would have such an illness. However, this illness brought great benefits to Yingdi. It allowed her to extract water source energy from water and continuously absorb water source energy. Now, Yingdi's constitution and power both contained water source energy, and even though she could not compare to a true origin race, she was still quite terrifying. In order to avoid coming into contact with water, Yingdi used a waterless restriction on herself. This restriction allowed her to separate herself from water. On the surface, it looked like Yingdi could come into contact with water, but in actuality, Yingdi did not come into contact with water, and others would not be able to tell. Just then, when Zhao Fu had been waiting for Yingdi in the room, he had used his own abilities to dispel that restriction, and Zhao Fu had also controlled a type of water vapor. Yingdi had been too careless after entering the room and had fallen for Zhao Fu's trap. No one would believe that she had been able to subdue a higher being so easily. Yingdi knew about this weakness and had been looking for a way to treat it. That book could indeed cure this illness, but Yingdi wanted to keep the benefits of this illness, so she had been researching ways to improve it. However, Zhao Fu had discovered this weakness and used it. Yingdi said coldly, "What do you want?" Zhao Fu smiled as he lifted Yingdi's chin and said, "I can help you treat your illness." Yingdi shook her head and struggled free from Zhao Fu's hand as she said with a cold expression, "I'll definitely make you die miserably and unsightly." Zhao Fu lightly laughed and said, "I've heard you say that many times." A few hours later, Yingdi collapsed in Zhao Fu's arms, and Zhao Fu smiled and asked, "How do you feel?" Yingdi's face was rosy as she lay in Zhao Fu's arms and ignored Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu lightly laughed as he said, "Now, I've healed half of your illness and preserved a portion of your ability to absorb water essence energy. You should properly thank me. I've completed something that you have not been able to do in a long time." Yingdi lightly snorted and said, "I won't thank you." Zhao Fu smiled and said, "It doesn't matter, I've already obtained you anyway." Yingdi looked at Zhao Fu and asked, "Is your goal that simple? Just to obtain me?" Zhao Fu looked at Yingdi in his arms and said, "You're so beautiful, I'm already very satisfied to have you." "You're underestimating yourself too much," Yingdi said. "I don't believe your flowery words." Zhao Fu smiled and said, "I'm leaving." Yingdi replied, "All right, hurry up and leave." Zhao Fu smiled and said, "You still need to treat your illness. Do you want me to come over and help you?" Yingdi thought for a moment and said, "You can do it." Zhao Fu smiled and said, "Wait for me later." Yingdi said, "All right, and don't tell anyone about this. You should understand our Shadow Clan's rules." Zhao Fu smiled and said, I know. After leaving, Zhao Fu went to Ingya's residence. Ingya asked curiously, What took you so long? Zhao Fu smiled and said, Sir, I discovered an important secret. Ingya smiled and said, What secret? Zhao Fu took out a wooden box and gave it to Ingya. Ingya opened it and found that it was a medical book. She then opened it and gave a trace of a smile as she said, So it's like that. I didn't notice it before. Zhao Fu said, Sir, are you satisfied with this news? Ingya put the book away and smiled as she said, I'm very satisfied. With this, I'll be able to control Ingdi in the future. Zhao Fu smiled and said, What about the benefits that Sir promised? Ingya lightly laughed and said, Come. Chapter 3299. Book 1, Chapter 243. A few hours later. Ingya lay in Zhao Fu's embrace and looked at Zhao Fu as she said, You're giving me more and more surprises. Zhao Fu smiled as he said, Sir. Me too. Ingya smiled as she said, In the future, you can stay by my side and serve me. Zhao Fu smiled as he said, Yes, I'll continue to work for Sir. Ingya gave a satisfied smile as she said, I want you to help me investigating Fei. She seems to be somewhat suspicious. Seeing that Ing Fei was already under control, Zhao Fu straightforwardly said, Sure. Following this, Zhao Fu went to Ing Fei's house and immediately entered the painting. Seeing Ingya come up and hug her, Ingya's face became red as she said, What are you doing here again? Zhao Fu smiled as he said, I have good news for you all. Ingya asked, What good news? Zhao Fu lightly laughed as he said, I'll tell you later. Ing Fei returned and saw this scene, and his face became slightly red as he walked over. Afterwards, Ingya leaned into Zhao Fu's embrace and asked, What good news did you just say? Zhao Fu smiled as he said, Now that Ing Di is under my control, Ingya is also under her control. In the end, there's only the number one assassin, who is your chief. If I control her, I'll control the Shadowfish clan, and you won't have to stay in the painting anymore. Ingya said in surprise, So fast? Zhao Fu lightly laughed as he said, Aren't you looking down on my abilities? Ing Fei looked at Zhao Fu and said, After you control the Shadowfish clan, will you harm our clan? Ingya said in a concerned tone, If my clan has to pay the price, I'd rather stay in the painting. I broke the rules, so I'm willing to be punished. Zhao Fu smiled as he said, You're all thinking too much. See, I didn't do anything to you all, and you can make your own decisions. Right now, I'm helping you all become more united and harmonious. You 10 assassins are all from the Shadowfish clan, and you all have your own goals and secret. Ing Fei snorted lightly, Then shouldn't we be thanking you? Zhao Fu smiled and said, Of course. Ing Fei snorted. You're shameless. The Shadow Maiden smiled and said, If you are truly good to the Shadowfish clan, I am willing to support you. I can trust you. Zhao Fu looked at the Shadow Lady and smiled. Late at night, the night breeze blew gently. Zhao Fu came to Ingdi's room. Ingdi said bitterly, Why did you come so late? Zhao Fu smiled and said, I thought about it and decided to tell you about it. Ingdi asked, What is it? Zhao Fu said, Actually, it was Ingya who asked me to investigate you, and I told her your secret. Ingdi said angrily, So it's her. Also, how can you tell my secret to others? Zhao Fu went up and hugged Ingdi as he comforted her, saying, As long as I can cure your illness, she won't be able to threaten you, and your secret will be useless. I'm on your side now. Hearing this, Ingdi's expression eased, and she looked at Zhao Fu as she said with a slightly red face, Hurry up and treat me. Zhao Fu smiled and nodded. By the time he left Ingdi's house, it was already the next day. Zhao Fu did not go to Ingya's place and instead went to Ing Mu's place. Zhao Fu looked at Inggu and said, Finally, give me information about your chief. Inggu said in surprise, You've dealt with Ingya and Ingdi? Zhao Fu nodded, I've obtained them. However, I haven't gained control of Ingya yet, but she's not much of a threat. Ingu smiled and said, I'll give you information now. If you can gain control of the chief, I'll immediately tell you about the omniscient water world. Zhao Fu said in dissatisfaction, I've done so much to help you, and all I get is information about the omniscient water world? Ingu smiled and said, Husband, I'll help you gather information about the other omniscient water world. Zhao Fu gave a trace of a smile and said, That's more like it. Following this, Zhao Fu looked through the information that Ingu had given him. The Shadowfish clan's chief was called Ingli, and she was the most powerful person in the Shadowfish clan. Her reputation was quite great in the entire water domain, and people feared her. Facing such a person, Zhao Fu had to be even more careful. The information that Ingu had given him was not very useful, and Zhao Fu quickly finished looking through it. Ingu asked, What do you plan to do? Do you need me to cooperate with you? Zhao Fu shook his head and said, No need, I don't know what to do right now. I'll just wither by myself first. Ingu said, You can just tell me if you need anything. Zhao Fu quickly snuck into Ingli's residence and heard a sound. He followed the sound and saw an extremely beautiful woman doing it with a few other women. The beautiful woman looked quite lewd. This made Zhao Fu feel quite surprised because this beautiful woman was Ingli. He had never thought that she would have such a hobby. Seeing this scene, Zhao Fu did not dare to get too close. If it wasn't for the fact that Ingli was enjoying herself, she might have discovered Zhao Fu. Following this, Zhao Fu stealthily left. The Shadowfish clan's rules forbade them from interacting with men, but they did not forbid them from interacting with women. If this news spread, it would only cause their reputation to fall and would not be able to threaten Ingli. As Zhao Fu stood in a remote place and thought to himself, a person appeared behind Zhao Fu and lightly patted Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu was given a big fright and quickly turned to see that it was Inya. Inya looked at Zhao Fu and said, Why are you here? Didn't I ask you to investigate Ingju? Zhao Fu thought about it before replying, I just saw the chief doing it with a few women. Inya smiled and said, I know about this. Zhao Fu was quite surprised and said, Sir, you know about this? Inya nodded, Our chief is a lewd woman. Even though she's very powerful, she's very easy to deal with, so I didn't ask you to investigate her. Don't leak this news and focus on Ingju. Zhao Fu said, Yes, sir. Inya looked at Zhao Fu and smiled as she asked, I told you to investigate Ingju. Did you find anything? Zhao Fu replied, No. Inya said, You can take your time, I'm not in a hurry. Also, do you understand where you're staying tonight? Zhao Fu felt quite troubled as he said, Sir, isn't it too suspicious for me to go every night? Inya lightly laughed. I'm not afraid, so what are you afraid of? Zhao Fu thought about it and said, All right then. Inya smiled and reminded him, Don't come here next time, I can't bear to give you to the chief. Zhao Fu nodded. Inya turned into countless traces of black matter and dissipated. Zhao Fu watched as Inya disappeared. This ability of hers was very powerful, and Zhao Fu had not sensed it twice. As such, he did not dare to underestimate her. Of course, Zhao Fu would not listen to her and planned to investigate the chief. Suddenly, a wave of black matter rushed towards Zhao Fu, and before Zhao Fu could react, he was enveloped by the black matter and his vision fell into darkness. Chapter 3300. Book 1, Chapter 244. When Zhao Fu opened his eyes again, he found that he had been hung up, and there was a woman standing in front of him. It was Ingli, and she was only wearing a piece of clothing. Zhao Fu started to feel nervous because it was not his clone that had been captured but his main body. Ingli gave a trace of a smile as she looked at Zhao Fu and said, Did you think that I wouldn't know that you broke into the courtyard? Zhao Fu was quite shocked. He had thought that Ingli had not discovered him, but it seemed that he had underestimated Ingli. So the clown was him. Zhao Fu asked, Then why didn't you do anything to me? Ingli lightly laughed as she said, I wanted to see who was behind this, and it was Ingya. She's a bit too arrogant. From Ing Li's expression, it seemed that she knew everything. Ingya had underestimated Ing Li too much, thinking that she would not care about anything. However, everything was within her control. Zhao Fu asked, What do you plan to do now? Ing Li lightly laughed as she said, I'm quite curious about your abilities. You were able to subdue our Shadow Fish Clan's 9 assassins in such a short period of time. Zhao Fu's expression fell and he felt quite shocked. He had never thought that Ing Li would know about this. Ing Li lightly laughed as she said, I have a domain that covers the entire city, and I've been paying attention to you ever since you entered. Zhao Fu's expression was quite unsightly as he said, In other words, I've been doing things under your watch? Ing Li smiled as she said, Zhao Fu looked at Ing Li and said, Then why did you allow me to do things in the city? Ing Li smiled as she said, The Shadow Fish Clan's 10 assassins all have their own goals, and we are unable to truly unite. This has always been a problem for me. Zhao Fu said, So you've been using me? Ing Li smiled as she said, Sort of. As long as I can control you, I can control the other 9 assassins. Zhao Fu looked at Ing Li and was prepared to use the passion flower demonic seed. This woman was too terrifying. He had been too careless and had been used by others. This time, Zhao Fu had met his match. Ing Li looked at Zhao Fu and asked with a smile, Do you have anything to say now? Zhao Fu said, No. Ing Li said, You don't look afraid. Do you have any means to deal with me? Zhao Fu's expression didn't change, but he was nervous. She could see through him. Ing Li said with a smile, Your background should be very scary, right? Zhao Fu still said nothing. Ing Li said with a smile, If you don't want to tell me, you can give me a hint and let me guess. Don't be so boring. Zhao Fu said, I won't tell you. You won't kill me anyway. Ing Li smiled and nodded. With your identity and your relationship with the 9 assassins, I indeed won't kill you. However, I can completely control you. Zhao Fu coldly looked at Ing Li. If Ing Li wanted to control him, he indeed wouldn't be able to resist. After all, the difference in cultivation was too great. However, with Zhao Fu's bloodline, he could slowly break free, provided that he didn't have to be afraid. Ing Li smiled as she said, If you won't give me a hint, I'll find it myself. Let me see what you have on you. Zhao Fu started to panic. He had too many things on him that could prove his identity. He said calmly, I can give you a hint, Emperor's Star. Emperor's Star? Ing Li felt quite confused. She then asked, Do you have an Emperor's Star? Is it from the human race or the devil race? Zhao Fu looked at her and said, Stop pretending. You should know. Ing Li lightly laughed. As a heaven-awakened son, it's our Shadow Fish Clan's honor to have you come to our Shadow Fish Clan. Zhao Fu said somewhat angrily, Don't say such nice things. Now, Zhao Fu was still being hung, and Ing Li didn't have any intention of letting him go. Ing Li chuckled as she said, I knew you weren't simple. No wonder I feel inferior and envious of your looks. Alright. I can't wait any longer. Let me experience your abilities. As she spoke, Ing Li slowly took off her clothes and walked towards Zhao Fu. 2 days passed, and Zhao Fu looked at the lewd Ing Li with a look of surprise. By now, Zhao Fu had been released, and the courtyard was in a mess. Ing Li said flirtatiously and provocatively, Is that all you've got? Another 2 days passed, and Ing Li collapsed in front of the courtyard. She finally looked satisfied as she looked at Zhao Fu and said, I admit defeat. Zhao Fu asked curiously, Don't you like women? Ing Li smiled as she said, I'm the chief, so of course I have to follow the rules. Moreover, I don't like ordinary men, so I prefer men. Zhao Fu replied, Oh, now that you've experienced it, how do you plan to deal with me? Ing Li smiled as she said, You can go now. Ing Li smiled as she said, You can leave now. Zhao Fu looked quite startled as he asked, You're letting me go just like that? Ing Li smiled as she said, You're the heaven-awakened sun, and someone with 8 supreme emperor stars. How could I dare to do anything to you? You came to the water domain to awaken the final emperor star, right? Tell me about it, and I'll do my best to help you. Zhao Fu had not expected things to turn out like this, and he said, I want to help Ying Li control the 10 assassins and obtain information about the omniscient water world. Ying Li could not help but lightly laugh as she took out an octagonal crystal and asked, Are you talking about this? Zhao Fu looked quite confused as he asked, Why do you have the omniscient water world? Ying Li said with a smile, I got it by accident and kept it with me. But I couldn't make it recognize me as its master, so it's useless to me. This made Zhao Fu very surprised. He had not expected Ying Li to have the water world of 8 directions. He had never heard of it. If he had not come to the Shadowfish clan, he would have missed the water world of 8 directions. Keed stretched out her hand and passed the 8-directional water world to Zhao Fu. Here. Zhao Fu looked at Ying Li and said, Are you going to give me the 8-directional water world just like that? Ying Li smiled and nodded. After you awaken the last water race emperor star and become a true heaven-awakened sun, don't forget about our Shadowfish clan. Now, Ying Li was also an investment in Zhao Fu. She did not hesitate to bet herself on Zhao Fu. In the future, she believed that the return would be at least thousands of times, or even tens of thousands of times. Zhao Fu took the octagonal water world. Boom! An explosion sounded out as the octagonal water world exploded out with a massive power. Countless rays of light shot out and started to recognize Zhao Fu as its master. Ying Li looked at Zhao Fu in surprise. She had not been able to recognize this thing as its master, but it had automatically recognized Zhao Fu as its master. This person in front of her was indeed worthy of being the famous heaven-awakened sun. After the octagonal water world recognized its master, it fused into Zhao Fu's body and disappeared. Zhao Fu hugged Ying Li and smiled as he said, Thank you. Ying Li smiled as she said, You're welcome. I think we can make this matter public now. Chapter 3301. Book 1. 245. Zhao Fu asked, Make what public? Ying Li said, Make public what you've done and your identity, and I'll have all 9 of you come here. Zhao Fu thought about it and nodded. Following this, the 9 people came to the hall. Seeing Ying Li's red face and Zhao Fu next to her, they naturally knew what had happened. Ying Kuan gave a trace of a smile. She understood that Zhao Fu had succeeded. However, Ying Ye frowned. She had already asked Zhao Fu to leave, so why was Zhao Fu still here? Ying Li sat on both sides and looked at the women as she smiled and said, I already know everything. We've all done it with him, and become his women. With this identity, we should be able to get along better in the future. Hearing this, the women's expressions fell. Ying Kuan and Ying Ye felt quite panicked. Ying Fei looked at Zhao Fu somewhat angrily, and Ying Di looked at Zhao Fu with hidden bitterness. Ying Yin felt quite shy, and Ying Mu and Ying Lian both smiled. Ying Li smiled and said, I wonder if he's told you his true identity? The women looked at Zhao Fu strangely. They had never heard Zhao Fu say this before. Ying Li smiled as she said, Looks like he hasn't said it yet. He's the legendary heaven-awakened sun, the possessor of 8 supreme emperor stars. Hearing this, everyone looked incredibly shocked, and their hearts started to beat rapidly. Zhao Fu said apologetically, I'm sorry, due to some reasons, I did not tell you my true identity. Ying Kuan cursed angrily, You bastard! Ying Mu said by the side, Big sis, don't be so angry. He has his own difficulties. It's understandable that he did not reveal such a big thing. Ying Kuan said angrily, I'm not angry because of that, it's because he lied to me and told the chief everything. Ying Li explained with a smile, You really can't blame him for this. I already knew your plan, and I forced him to tell me his identity. Otherwise, he wouldn't have told me his identity. Now everyone in the world is looking for him. It's good to be careful. Ying Kuan looked at Zhao Fu and asked, Is it true? Zhao Fu nodded innocently. Kage understood that he had wronged Zhao Fu, but he wasn't angry. Instead, he felt a bit guilty. Ying Lian said, "Since everything has been said, I also have to say something. This scum took me by force and threatened me with my favorite mystic cat. Patriarch, please uphold justice for me. How do you think I should punish him?" Ying Mu said, "Me too, this guy is too violent towards me." Ying Yin spoke up for Zhao Fu. "If that's the case, why are you still willing to obey him and be with him?" Ying Lian explained, "I was threatened by this guy." Ying Fei glanced at Zhao Fu. "Me too. He's despicable, but I can accept him as my man." Ying Di said, "He cured me, so we don't owe each other anything. I have nothing to say." Ying Lian said angrily, "I don't care. You bullied me. You must let me vent my anger." Ying Mu lightly harumphed, "He can accompany you for one more day, right?" Ying Lian's face became red as she said, "Ying Mu, you and an outsider bullied me. You also had a part in this and should be punished." Ying Mu said, "So what?" Ying Lian said angrily, "Don't go too far." Ying Li laughed as she said, "All right, stop arguing. Let's get down to business." Ying Ye looked at Ying Li and said, "Patriarch, you should know about my plan, but you didn't say anything. You hid it quite well, and if it wasn't for this time, I wouldn't have been able to see through your true colors." Ying Li smiled as she said, "It's not because of me, it's because you're too arrogant." Ying Ye nodded, "You're right, I'm convinced. What do you want to talk about?" Ying Li smiled as she said, "He's come to the water domain to awaken the final water race Emperor Star, and he's going to collect the 8 directional water worlds. I've already given him the 8 directional water world, so he already has 5. Kage said in shock, "Patriarch, you have 8 water worlds?" Ying Lian slightly nodded. Hearing this, Kage sighed. Back then, in order to steal Demon Grass City's 8 water worlds, he had been heavily injured. He had never thought that the Shadowfish clan would have 8 water worlds, and it would be easier to obtain them from the Patriarch. Ying Li continued to say, "I want the Shadowfish clan to fully support him, and he promises that he will not forget the benefits of the Shadowfish clan in the future." Ying Ye said, "I have no objections. This deal is worth it." Ying Di said, "I don't have any objections either." The others thought about it and shook their heads, expressing that they had no objections. Ying Li looked at Kage and asked, "I heard from him that you have information about an 8 water world?" Kage nodded, "It's under a water abyss. I've tried there before, but it's too dangerous." Hearing about a water abyss, Zhao Fu asked, "Is it the Blade Shark water abyss?" Kage looked at Zhao Fu and replied, "No, it's the Poison water abyss." Zhao Fu let out a sigh of relief. Zhao Fu had already obtained the Blade Shark water abyss's 8 water world. Kage asked curiously, "What is it?" Zhao Fu smiled as he said, "It's nothing. I've already obtained the other Blade Shark water abyss's 8 water world." Kage said, "The Poison water abyss is filled with poisonous jellyfish and releases a formless poison. Even higher beings will be poisoned to death if they enter. I was poisoned by that poison, but luckily I escaped in time, or else I might have died there. Moreover, it took me half a year to get rid of the poison." Poison? Zhao Fu thought about it and did not feel too afraid. Ying Li nodded. "Later, we'll see if we can obtain this 8 water world and continue to help him gather information." The women nodded. Zhao Fu smiled as he said, "Thank you, everyone, for your help." Ying Yin smiled as she said, "There's no need to be so polite, husband. We look forward to the moment when you awaken all of your Emperor stars." Kage said apologetically, "My power has not recovered yet, so I might not be able to help much." Zhao Fu knew this and smiled as he said, You can stay here." Kage shook her head, "I want to go and have a look. I have some basic understanding of that place and can give you some useful information." Zhao Fu smiled as he nodded. Ying Li looked at the women and said, "Is there anything else you want to say?" The women looked at each other and shook their heads. Li smiled as she said, "Let's do some things that will make us more harmonious." The women looked at Li strangely, not understanding what she meant. Li smiled as she pushed Zhao Fu to the side. The women's faces became red. Li lightly laughed. Even though she had underestimated Li's abilities in scheming, she was not wrong in this regard. Li said flirtatiously, "If you don't come, he'll be mine." Hearing this, Yin, who liked Zhao Fu the most, looked at the women and blushed as she walked forward. The women could only join in. Chapter 3302. Book 1, Chapter 246. Boom. Boom, a deafening roar rang out. Beams of light brought with them an irresistible force as they shot towards the fiery barrier. Bang! 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 The beams of light smashed into the barrier, causing ripples to spread out, causing the barrier's power to weaken. On the ground, there were countless Card World soldiers. The power protected by the barrier was Fire Country. While Baiwu stood on the city wall, his expression extremely unsightly. Facing the ferocious attack of a Card World country, Fire Country might not be able to stop it. If they could not stop it, it would mean that Fire Country would perish. While Baiwu did not want his ancestors' foundation to be destroyed in his hands, but he had no other choice. The nearby factions could not even protect themselves, and it was impossible for them to help. The news quickly spread, causing Fire Country's citizens to panic. Hua Qingmei came to the palace and said, "You should know about Mother's matter, right?" Hua Dongmei nodded solemnly. "The faction attacking Fire Country this time is very powerful, and Fire Country might not be able to stop it." Hua Qingmei said, "We'll look for Qin's support." Hua Dongmei nodded. "Only Qin can help us now, but I heard that that fellow has already gone to the water region, and I don't know when he will return. Right now, the ones in charge are Qin's Bai Qi and Li Si." Hua Qingmei said worriedly, "Without him, I don't know if Qin will help us." Hua Dongmei thought about it and said, "I think so. They should know about our relationship with that fellow, and it's impossible for them to not help us." Hua Qingmei's face became slightly red. "Let's write a letter to Qin for help now." The letter quickly reached Qin's ears. Bai Qi looked at the letter in his hands and called Li Si and a few other ministers over to discuss. Li Si said, "Before His Majesty left, he ordered us to do our best to help them if they encounter any difficulties. How many troops do you think we should send?" Bai Qi said, "The troops attacking Fire Country are Stage 2. For now, the Dragon King's army should not move. I want to send 20 billion troops, 100,000 alchemy saint beasts, and Fire Country. It should be enough to repel this Card World faction." Li Si asked, "Who do you think is suitable to lead the army?" Bai Qi thought for a moment. "Right now, Qin's generals are stationed in different worlds. This is no small matter. I think we should summon Meng Tian back, and let him lead the army to the Fire Country." Li Si thought for a while and nodded. At this moment, a guard walked in and reported, "Sir, there's important news from the Yin world." Li Si asked curiously, "What is it?" The guard replied, "The Yellow Springs Queen has requested for you to personally take a look." After Li Si and Bai Qi arrived at the underworld Yellow Springs Kingdom, terrifying ripples continuously spread out, making people feel immense terror and causing their legs to tremble. Sensing this power, Bai Qi looked quite shocked. Arriving at the source of the ripples, Zhao Fu found that it was a Yellow Springs. The 12 Yellow Springs Empresses were already standing nearby, looking down at the Yellow Springs with grim expressions. Now, the Yellow Springs had formed 10 huge whirlpools, and the terrifying fluctuations were coming from the 10 whirlpools. Looking at the 10 whirlpools, Li Si suddenly remembered that it was them. Boom! Boom! Massive explosions sounded out as rays of yellow light containing immense power shot into the sky, forming massive pillars of yellow light. There were 10 massive pillars of yellow light in total, and they gave off heaven-toppling auras. This unstoppable aura suppressed the Yellow Springs Kingdom, and everyone felt as if there was a massive boulder weighing down on them, making it difficult for them to even breathe. As the most powerful people who had Yellow Springs power, only the 12 Yellow Springs Empresses could just barely withstand it. Bai Qi and Li Si felt a great deal of pressure. The 10 figures slowly rose up from the bottom of the pillars of light and appeared before everyone. The 12 Yellow Springs Empresses looked at the 10 figures in shock. Was this their final form? They were simply too powerful and far surpassed them. Seeing them, Bai Qi smiled and said, "Li Si, I've changed my mind." Li Si understood and smiled as he said, "His Majesty has nurtured them for so many years and has been looking forward to the day they reappear. It's a pity that His Majesty has gone to the water region, or else he would be very happy to see this scene." Bai Qi smiled as he said, "I've also been looking forward to the day they reappear. Back then, they made great contributions to Qin, causing the world to feel fear and destruction. After being silent for so many years, it's time for them to return to their former glory." Li Si smiled and nodded. Bang! A muffled explosion sounded out as the defensive barrier protecting the Fire Country was shattered by a wave of power, and the Card World's soldiers gave off shocking auras as they rushed towards the Fire Country. The Fire Country's side shot out countless fire arrows, which gave off fiery power and descended like a rain of fire, creating a majestic scene. The Card World was also prepared and knew that the Fire Country was a faction that focused on fire. They threw out cards that turned into walls of water, blocking all of the fire arrows that were shot over. Huo Baiwu's expression was quite unsightly, and he could only release the Fire Country's large creatures. Massive fire lizards appeared, opened their mouths, and countless fiery flames gathered. Swish, 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 large fireballs flew towards the Card World's army and violently exploded, blasting apart the walls of water and sending some of the Card World's soldiers flying. The Card World immediately threw out more cards, forming walls of water. The Card World's soldiers gave off a wave of power and fused with the walls of water. The countless fireballs continued to fly towards the Card World's army, and explosions sounded out as shock waves spread out. This time, the walls of water blocked the countless fireballs, and the Card World's army slowly advanced. Huo Baiwu immediately gave the order to use the Sea of Flames tactic. The Fire Country's army received the order, and took out buckets of black liquid before vigorously throwing them forward. The buckets smashed onto the ground and shattered, causing countless amounts of black liquid to flow out. However, under the control of a formless power, the black liquid spread out on the ground, forming a massive liquid magic formation. Whoosh! This magic formation instantly burst into massive flames, forming a sea of flames that was 30 or so meters tall. Massive heat waves spread out, and the surrounding temperature could turn rocks into magma. The Card World's water walls were vaporized by the flames, and some Card World soldiers were covered by the flames and were instantly burned to ashes. The Card World soldiers quickly retreated, and only a small portion of the Card World soldiers were injured or killed. Looking at the sea of flames, the Card World's soldiers temporarily stopped attacking. They understood that the Sea of Flames would not last for too long, and they could continue attacking later. Chapter 3303. Book 1, Chapter 247 Inches The Harem. The white bird also came and asked anxiously, "What's wrong?" Did Qin reply? Hua Qingmei shook her head and said, "No, I think Qin's people are also discussing this." The white bird said angrily, "Can't they hurry up? Our Fire Country is about to collapse. If it weren't for my father, we would have been broken through. What's the point of them coming then?" Hua Dongmei said, "Don't be so anxious. This is not a small matter. Qin needs to be prepared before he can support us." Hua Qingmei said, "Well, now I just hope that Qin can hurry up." A female attendant hurriedly walked in with a letter and reported, "Your Majesty, this is a letter from Great Qin." Hearing this, Hua Dongmei smiled in surprise. She quickly opened the letter and read it, and her face darkened. Hua Qingmei asked in confusion, "What's the matter, mother?" Hua Dongmei gave the letter to Hua Qingmei. Hua Qingmei took the letter and read it, and her face darkened. The white bird frowned and said, "What's in the letter?" Hua Qingmei said, "Qin promised to send troops to support our fire country and asked us to try our best to hold on." The white bird said, "That's a good thing. Why are you still unhappy?" Hua Qingmei said, "Because Qin only sent 10 people." "What?" The white bird was stunned and then said angrily, "Do they know how many enemies we are facing? Are they humiliating us by only sending 10 people? What's the use of these 10 people?" Hua Dongmei said, "I'm also curious about this. Either Qin didn't promise us, or why did he send 10 people? What's the use of them? Besides, we don't have any enmity with them, so they don't have to humiliate us." Hua Qingmei sighed, "If only he was here. He would definitely send troops to protect us." The white bird said, "When he comes back, we'll tell him about this." Hua Dongmei said with a headache, "We can talk about this later. Now we need to think about how to defend Fire Country. If Fire Country is destroyed, we may not be able to escape." The sea of flames on this side had already been extinguished, and the ground was charred black with white smoke rising from it. The ground was still giving off massive amounts of heat. The card soldiers took out cards and turned them into streams of water that poured onto the ground, causing the temperature of the ground to return to normal. The card army continued to advance towards the Fire Country. The Fire Country's side once again shot out countless fire arrows, raining down like a rain of fire. From the card world's side, cards were thrown out one after another, forming walls of water that continued to push forward. Looking at the approaching army of the card world, Hua Baiwu had no choice but to use his trump card in advance. On the ground, a massive fire-colored magic array was activated. Countless streams of worldly powers flowed into it and the magic array slowly spun. As the magic array absorbed more and more worldly powers, the aura it emanated grew stronger and stronger. Its surroundings were also enveloped in a high temperature, and those who stood nearby felt as though they were inside a furnace. Xiao! A slender fiery beam shot out from the center of the huge formation and disappeared into the sky. Boom! A massive explosion sounded out as the sky was covered by flames. A massive meteor dragged a flaming tail behind it, bringing with it a power that could destroy everything as it quickly descended. The sound it gave off shook the heavens and earth, causing people to feel intense fear and powerlessness. The card world's army was given a big fright by this move, and the commander immediately gave the order to take out all of the defensive cards. The many cards flew into the sky. At first, a massive earth barrier appeared, enveloping the many Kappa soldiers. Following this, a massive ice barrier condensed, enveloping the earth barrier. The outermost barrier was the wall of water. Now, the card world's army had 3 layers of protection. Bang! The massive meteor quickly smashed down, causing a massive shockwave to spread out. The outermost wall of water instantly turned into countless water droplets and shot out, and the second layer of the ice barrier also shattered. The third layer of the earth barrier also shattered. At that moment, the meteor also shattered, causing countless pieces of ice and soil to fly out, and a massive gust of wind blew out. This scene was like a calamity descending, causing everyone to feel incredibly shocked and their minds to go blank. As a kingdom that had existed for many years, Fire Country's final killer move was definitely terrifying. The shockwaves gradually calmed down, and there were large fragments scattered all around, with many card worlds' corpses lying around. This attack caused many casualties to Kappa World's army. The card world's commander was furious and gathered his soldiers, and he also used a killer move. Countless cavalry appeared, and a powerful aura spread out. Hua Baiwu's expression was grim. He knew that the card world's cavalry was the most powerful. Kill! The cavalry started to charge forward, like an unstoppable sword, they rushed towards the Fire Country at an extremely fast speed. Bang! Bang! Giant lizards leapt out from the ground and attacked the cavalry. One lizard opened its mouth and bit a few cavalrymen. Another swung its tail and sent some cavalrymen flying. Some fire lizards used their bodies to knock the cavalrymen away. Because of the sudden attack from the ground, the cavalry corps' formation was disrupted, dispelling a wave of attacks from the cavalry corps. However, the cavalry corps quickly formed into groups and started to kill those fire lizards. A group of cavalry corps held spears and charged at a fire lizard, their spears giving off intense light and forming a massive spear image. Bang! The massive spear image sent the fire lizard flying, and a massive bloody hole appeared on its body, from which blood continuously flowed out. A group of cavalrymen sent their swords flying, and the swords gave off intense sword lights that formed massive swords. They gave off immense force as they descended, stabbing a fire lizard into the ground and killing it on the spot. Huobaiwu endured the pain as he watched this scene. These fire lizards were large creatures that Fire Country had painstakingly nurtured, and now that they were continuously being killed by the Card World's army, Huobaiwu felt quite bad. However, apart from this method, he had no other way to defend against the cavalry corps. Swish, 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 countless sounds of the air being torn could be heard as the Card World's army started to attack Fire Country. Arrows shot towards Fire Country's city walls, and some soldiers were accidentally hit and fell to the ground, crying out. Some soldiers were directly killed. Huobaiwu immediately gave the order to defend and counterattack. No matter what, he had to defend this place, or else Fire Country would be finished. The battle was incredibly intense, and many fire lizards died, while the cavalry corps also lost a portion of their cavalry corps. After the Card World's army suffered some casualties, they reached Fire Country's city walls and started to prepare to attack. Fire Country's side desperately counterattacked, sending arrows, stones, and fireballs towards the Card World's army. However, this could only slow down the Card World's army and could not stop them from advancing. Chapter 3304. Book 1, 248. At this moment, 10 figures arrived on a small hill. They were 10 skeleton cavalrymen riding on skeleton horses. Their bones were like jade, and they wore armor. Their bodies emitted a large amount of black and yellow aura. It was like a mist, and there were countless resentful spirits within it. They seemed like emissaries from the netherworld. They were the reinforcements that Qin had sent, and they were existences that had affected Qin's fate in the past. Before, they had many names, but now they were called Yellow Springs Cavalrymen. The 10 cavalrymen looked at the battlefield in front of them and drew the swords at their waists, raising them and pointing them at the sky. Boom! A massive explosion sounded out, shaking the heavens and earth. The two sides fighting were given a big fright and looked behind them. Countless traces of heaven and earth power gathered, forming a boundless might that suppressed the surroundings. A massive and ancient gate appeared in the sky. A massive wave of cold and eerie power spread out, causing countless people to feel a chill in their hearts. This was a massive gate that was dark yellow and made of wood. There was a wide river drawn on the gate. There were countless corpses floating inside. Both sides looked incredibly shocked. What is this? The skeleton cavalryman's most terrifying ability was Undead Disaster. Now that the skeleton cavalryman had become Yellow Springs Cavalryman, Undead Disaster had also become Yellow Springs Gate. The 10 Yellow Springs cavalrymen lowered their swords, and the massive Yellow Springs gates slowly opened. A massive wave of yellow aura flowed out, spreading out like a flood. It gave off an aura that seemed to be able to drown everything as it rushed forwards, giving off terrifying sounds. This caused the Fire Country's army and the Card World's army to immediately stop fighting and choose to defend. The yellow aura brought with it a terrifying aura as it flooded over, inundating countless soldiers before dissipating. This caused both sides to feel quite startled, and they felt as if nothing had happened. However, what happened next was even more terrifying. The countless corpses seemed to have lost all their water and became dry corpses. Their eyes became yellow, and they held weapons as they rushed at the countless card world soldiers. A mummy held a saber and vigorously slashed out, sending a person flying. Another mummy slashed out, chopping off a person's arm. Another mummy held a spear and quickly stabbed out, piercing through a person's chest. One of the withered corpses roared and raised its large saber as it charged at a person. Another withered corpse held a bow and shot an arrow through a person's throat. Another withered corpse swung its spear and sent a person flying. A mummy ferociously rushed in front of a person and forcefully jumped, wanting to bite that person's body. That person screamed in pain and wanted to throw that person away, but the mummy firmly held on to that person. These mummies suddenly attacked the card soldiers. Because they were spread out, and because the card soldiers were not prepared, there were many casualties. What was even more terrifying was that the soldiers who were killed by the mummies quickly turned into mummies and attacked the others. On the city wall, Huobaiwu looked at the chaos below in shock. He did not understand what was going on. At that moment, the many corpses on the city wall had also turned into mummies. The expressions of the Fire Country's countless people changed, and they wanted to attack these mummies. However, these mummies all jumped off the city wall and charged at the card soldiers, not seeming to have any intentions of attacking the Fire Country. The Fire Country's countless people all had strange looks on their faces. However, this was a good opportunity to retaliate against the card world. Huobaiwu hurriedly gave the order to attack. Swish, 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 sounds of the air being torn could be heard as fire arrows arced through the air, shooting towards the card soldiers like a rain of fire. Some card soldiers brandished their weapons to block, some used their shields to defend, while others were shot to death by the arrows. The dead soldiers immediately turned into mummies and attacked the card soldiers. The situation immediately became disadvantageous for the card world. The many card soldiers did their best to attack the mummies. A card soldier vigorously slashed out with his saber and sent a mummy flying, but the mummy quickly stood up and continued to quickly charge. A card soldier chopped off a mummy's arm with his saber, but the mummy did not feel any pain and slashed back at the card soldier, causing blood to spurt out. A card soldier slashed out with his saber with all his strength. The saber brought with it a saber light that chopped off a mummy's head, but the headless mummy could continue to attack. This caused the card world's army to fall into panic. This was a good thing for the Fire Country's army. The Fire Country's people looked happy and excited, and even though they did not know why, they continuously attacked the card soldiers. Fireballs flew into the card world's army, causing explosions to sound out. Many card soldiers were blasted away, and some of the card soldiers who were blasted to death quickly turned into mummies, while others whose bodies were blasted to pieces did not. The card world's generals saw that the army had suffered such great losses, and they ferociously looked at the massive Yellow Springs gate behind them. They understood that it was definitely caused by this Yellow Springs gate, and they ordered the cavalry to charge towards it. As long as they destroyed this Yellow Springs gate, they had a chance of winning. Boom! A group of hundreds of thousands of cavalry wielded spears as they quickly charged towards the back, giving off an unstoppable aura. The many mummies wanted to stop them, but they were sent flying by the cavalry. Some of the mummies were even smashed into pieces, looking quite shocking. Seeing that the card soldiers wanted to destroy the Yellow Springs gate, the Fire Country's generals wanted to stop them, but they did not have the ability to. The cavalry was incredibly fast, and they were about to reach the Yellow Springs gate. The 10 Yellow Springs cavalry did not feel any fear, and they once again raised their swords, causing a formless aura to spread out. Boom! A huge rumbling sound rang out as the huge Yellow Spring gate emitted countless intense yellow lights that shone on the charging cavalry regiment. The cavalry only felt the blinding light, and in the next moment, Their bodies lost all moisture as they gradually turned into mummies. The horses below them also quickly turned into mummies. In the blink of an eye, this cavalry turned into the Yellow Springs Cavalry Corps, which turned and attacked the Card World's army. The countless Card World's people looked incredibly shocked, and their minds went blank. Cavalry Corps were the most powerful army in the Card World, and they were not carefully chosen and had all sorts of equipment. Their defense and attack power were incredibly terrifying, so how had they suddenly turned into mummies? Boom! Before the Card World's soldiers could think, the Yellow Springs Cavalry Corps gave off a terrifying aura as they attacked. Countless Card World's soldiers were sent flying by this power, and some soldiers' bodies were torn apart. Lord's Weapon Conquering the Heavens, please add it to my collection. Lord's Weapon Conquering the Heavens. Chapter 3305. Book 1, Hell. The Fire Country's army looked incredibly shocked. The Yellow Spring Sect's power was simply too terrifying. If they charged over, the outcome would be even worse, as they were weaker than the Cavalry Corps. Seeing this, the Card World's generals could only give the order to retreat. Staying here would only result in more losses. Seeing the Card army retreat, Huobaiwu immediately gave the order to open the city gates and take the initiative to attack. Countless Fire Country's soldiers gave off powerful auras and rushed out, holding their weapons and attacking the Card soldiers. However, the corpses did not attack the Fire Country's soldiers. One of the Fire Country's soldiers threw out a long spear with all his might. The long spear drew an arc in the air, piercing through the chest of a Card soldier. Another Fire Country soldier laughed out loud as he slashed out with his blade, killing another Card soldier. A Fire Country soldier caught up to a Card soldier and vigorously slashed his saber into that soldier's back, causing that soldier to cry out and fall to the ground. Another Fire Country soldier swung his sword and beheaded a Card soldier. Some Card soldiers stayed behind to resist, but facing the Fire Country soldiers and corpses, they were not a match for them at all. They were quickly killed and turned into corpses. Rumble, the Yellow Springs Cavalry Corps gave off terrifying auras as they rampaged through the battlefield, unstoppable. Countless Card soldiers died at their hands, and the Yellow Springs power they released made it so that the other Card World's cavalry did not dare to face them head-on. In the end, the Card World's army retreated from this region, suffering heavy losses, and they most likely would not dare to come here again. After the Fire Country's victory, countless people cheered and the scene was incredibly lively. Huobaiwu also gave a trace of a smile and relaxed. He had thought that they would not be able to stop the Card army and that the Fire Country would be destroyed, but in the end, they had won and defeated the powerful Card army. Countless corpses gathered towards the Yellow Spring sect. The Fire Country's people were quite curious as to who had helped them. Without the Yellow Spring sect's help, they would not have been able to stop the Card army, so they followed the corpses towards the Yellow Spring sect. The corpses came before the 10 Yellow Springs cavalrymen, including the Yellow Springs Cavalry Corps of hundreds of thousands. The Yellow Springs cavalrymen put away their swords and the massive Yellow Springs sect gradually disappeared, and the surroundings returned to normal. Huobaiwu and the other generals came over and looked at the Yellow Springs cavalrymen giving off a powerful Yellow Springs aura with shocked expressions. That Yellow Spring gate should have been summoned by them. Although there were only 10 of them, their power surpassed an army. Huobaiwu couldn't help but admire them. He even suspected that if the 10 of them attacked the Fire Nation wouldn't be able to stop them. Huobaiwu and some generals came before the Yellow Springs horsemen and smiled as he said, "Thank you for your help. May I ask which faction you belong to?" The leader of the Yellow Springs cavalry said coldly, "We are following General Bai's orders and are here to support your Fire Country." General Bai? Huobaiwu looked confused and asked, "Who is General Bai?" The Yellow Springs knight said coldly, "General Bai is the general who controls Qin now." Huobaiwu and the other generals were astonished. Wasn't Qin their enemy? Why was he still willing to help them now? Hua Baiwu asked, "Are you really Qin's people?" There was a great enmity between Qin and Hua Baiwu, and they were quite happy that Qin hadn't attacked Fire Country. They simply didn't believe that an enemy like Qin would help them at such a time of danger. The Yellow Springs Cavalry said, "We were created by His Majesty, so we naturally belong to Qin." Hearing this, Hua Baiwu's expression became complicated. He couldn't understand why Qin would help them at such a time. However, they owed Qin a favor this time. The Yellow Springs Cavalry said, "Now that your crisis has been resolved, we will return to Qin." The Yellow Springs Cavalry brought the corpses and walked towards Qin. The Fire Country's generals also felt complicated and couldn't understand why Qin would help them. Moreover, he didn't ask for anything. Hua Baiwu said, "Let's go back as well." The generals nodded. News of Fire Country defeating the Card World's army quickly spread, and countless people started to celebrate. Hua Qing'er smiled as she came to the palace. Fire Country won. Fire White Bird smiled as she said, "We already knew." Hua Qing'er giggled as she said, "I really thought that Fire Country wouldn't be able to stop them. I heard that Qin only sent 10 people to help us defeat the Card World's army. I feel that their power is terrifying." Hua Dongmei nodded as she smiled and said, "We misunderstood Qin before. It seems that they still value us and didn't forget that guy's orders." Fire White Bird smiled as she said, "When he comes back, we must thank him properly." Hua Qing'er's face turned red as she asked, "When will he come back?" Fire White Bird smiled as she said, "We're not sure. Do you miss him?" Hua Qing'er's face turned red as she said, "I don't." Hua Qing'er's face turned red as she said, "I do miss him. So many days have passed without me knowing." Hua Dongmei smiled as she said, "He has important things to do, so we should try to understand. Also, Great Qin coming to help our Fire Country has caused your father and many other people to feel quite surprised. Make sure not to reveal our relationship with him." Fire White Bird smiled as she said, "We know." Hua Qing'er sighed as she said, "If father knew, he would definitely feel terrible. We've all become that guy's woman. When can we solve this problem?" Hua Dongmei said, "I don't know what to do either. We can only take it one step at a time." Fire White Bird smiled as she said, "It's not bad to maintain things like this. This time, Qin has helped Fire Country so much. In the future, our relationship will become better. I can marry Qin, and at that time, Mother, you and I can go find him openly." Hua Dongmei's face turned red as she rolled her eyes at Fire White Bird. At that moment, the Yellow Springs Cavalry brought a large number of corpses and the Yellow Springs Cavalry Corps back to Qin. Seeing this scene, Bai Qi revealed a shocked expression. He had only sent the Yellow Springs Cavalry to support Fire Country. He had not expected that 10 of them would go out and bring back a large army. With hundreds of thousands of Yellow Springs Cavalry, they would be able to achieve such a great effect. Right now, Bai Qi did not know the Yellow Springs Cavalry's full strength. If it wasn't for him borrowing Zhao Fu's orders, the Yellow Springs Cavalry might not have obeyed him. Looking at these corpses, Bai Qi thought about it and decided to arrange a place for Qin. He did not have the Yellow Springs Cavalry return to the underworld. Now that they had advanced, there was no need for them to return to the underworld. In the future, they would follow Qin to conquer the world. Lord's Soldiers Conquering the Heavens will continue to be updated on the handheld bar. There are no advertisements on the site, so please bookmark and recommend the handheld bar. If you like Lord's Soldiers Conquering the Heavens, please bookmark Lord's Soldiers Conquering the Heavens. Chapter 3306. Book 1. Chapter 250 translated by Hypersheep 325 edited by Michael Zhao Fu had arrived at the Mother Poison Water Abyss. This abyss was extremely wide, and one could not see the end of it. Strands of purple aura floated out from it, and the surroundings were completely silent without any signs of life. Zhao Fu and the Shadowfish clan members stood at the edge of the abyss. Kage reminded them, "This purple aura is extremely poisonous, so everyone must be careful." Everyone nodded and released their defensive barriers as they flew downwards. The purple poisonous aura quickly floated towards their defensive barriers and started to corrode them. Because they were all higher-level existences, this bit of poison did not pose any danger for the time being. However, as they continued to fly downwards, the poisonous aura became stronger and stronger, and its toxicity became more and more terrifying. Chi, the poisonous aura corroded the defensive barriers, causing them to become riddled with holes, making them look extremely ugly. However, the poisonous aura did not corrode the defensive barriers. Suddenly, a transparent tentacle attacked and lightly swept past them, immediately cutting open a hole in their defensive barriers, and the poisonous aura quickly flowed in. Everyone was startled, and they hurriedly released their power to repair their defensive barriers. Kage said, "This is the aquatic poison queen of the mother poison water abyss. Its toxicity is even stronger, and its attacks are very stealthy, making it difficult to detect. Back then, I was poisoned by an aquatic poison queen." Everyone's expressions became serious. Zhao Fu asked, "Is the omniscient water world at the bottom of this place?" Kage said, "No, it's in the hands of a massive aquatic poison queen. Back then, it snatched this thing from outside, and it can now use a portion of the 8-direction water world's power." Zhao Fu said, "Are we looking for this aquatic poison queen?" Kage replied, "Yes, I reckon that it's in the depths of the abyss, but it might not reach the bottom." Zhao Fu nodded, "Let's continue." Everyone gave off a powerful aura as they continued to fly downwards. At this time, a few transparent tentacles gently swept toward them. Ying Lian took out a dagger and slashed forward with an arc of light. Surprisingly, the sharp arc of light couldn't cut through the transparent tentacles. The tentacles looked very soft. Ying Lian was shocked. She didn't expect that the sharp arc of light couldn't cut through the transparent tentacles. Although it was unable to cut through those tentacles, it caused them to quickly retract. Bang! At the bottom of the abyss, a huge purple balloon of poison quickly rose up and exploded. Countless poisonous gas spread out. Everyone's defensive barriers were quickly corroded by the poisonous gas, and a large amount of poisonous gas surged towards them. Kage pair coldly harumphed and a powerful energy spread out. A powerful black wave of light swept away the surrounding poison gas. A few purple poison balloons quickly rose from the bottom of the abyss. Shadow Pair stretched out his hand and made a grabbing motion. A few huge fish shadows appeared and swam downwards rapidly. They opened their mouths and swallowed all the poisonous gas balls into their bodies. After that, they turned into countless black shadows and dissipated. A few transparent tentacles shot towards Ying Li. Ying Li slashed with the dagger, and an invisible blade swung forward. This time, the tentacle was cut off, but purple blood flowed out, and the tentacle continued to fly toward Ying Li. Kage Pair immediately released her defense, but it was corroded by the purple blood and continued to shoot towards her. Ying Li dodged to the side to avoid the attack. Many huge poisonous balloons continued to rise from below. With a cold face, Ying Li made a cut on her palm and waved it forward. Many poisonous gas balls were swallowed by a black shadow. Swish! A huge arrow condensed from poisonous gas was shot at Kage Pair at a high speed with great power. At that moment, Ying Di acted. She pointed out with her hand and a black light shot out, colliding with the arrow and causing another explosion. Many transparent tentacles started to stretch towards the group from all directions. Ying Li continuously swung the dagger in her hand, sending out formless blades that cut off many of the tentacles. The others also acted. After the tentacles were cut off, purple blood continuously flowed out. The blood floated into the water, forming balls of purple blood that shot towards the group. Ying Li and the others understood that the blood contained venom and could not be touched. They sent out waves of power and sent the blood flying. Swish, 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 giant arrows condensed from poisonous gas shot towards the group of people, bringing with them a powerful force. Boom! Ingli exploded out with her higher being level power and vigorously slapped out with her palm. A massive black palm containing immense power smashed apart the arrows. However, the power that Ingli exploded out with caused the surrounding poisonous gas to boil and become chaotic. Even more poisonous gas balloons and arrows formed from poisonous gas continuously shot towards the group, giving off terrifying sounds. Everyone released their higher being power and waves of power blasted towards the poisonous gas, destroying the poisonous gas balloons and arrows. However, this did not reduce the number of poisonous gas balloons and arrows, and they covered the heavens and earth as they continued to shoot towards the group. In the end, the group could only temporarily retreat from the source poison water abyss. Inya frowned. This source poison water abyss is more difficult to deal with than we thought. I never thought that releasing higher being power would cause such a commotion. Ing Fei said after thinking for a while, looks like we have to be careful and not just enter like that. Ing Kage said, let's try again. Ing Lien said, with so many of us going in, we'll definitely attract attention. Zhao Fu said, I'll go in by myself. You can all go back. Ing Kage looked at Zhao Fu and said, are you sure? Zhao Fu nodded. I think there shouldn't be a problem. Ing Li smiled as she said, all right, let's go back. I believe that with his abilities, there won't be any danger. Ing Kage said caringly, be careful. Zhao Fu smiled and nodded. Ing Lien and the others left, and Zhao Fu waited for a while for the bottom of the source poison water abyss to calm down before slowly diving in. In order to be more stealthy, Zhao Fu did not even activate his defensive barrier because the poison was useless against Zhao Fu. Now, the source poison water abyss was quite calm and only continuously gave off poisonous gas. There were no poisonous gas balloons or arrows attacking, so compared to before, Zhao Fu was much safer. They continued to fly downwards. At that moment, Zhao Fu saw a massive jellyfish. This jellyfish's body was transparent, and its crown gave off a purple light. It also had countless tentacles, and it gently floated in the water, looking quite beautiful. The jellyfish in front of them was most likely not the jellyfish that had attacked them. This jellyfish was not very powerful, and its strength was about the same as Zhao Fu's. Zhao Fu gave a trace of a smile and stretched out his hand, causing countless chains to shoot towards the jellyfish and bind it up. With this jellyfish leading the way, it would be much easier for Zhao Fu. Chapter 3307. Book 1, Chapter 251. The jellyfish struggled a few times in panic, but found that it could not break free. It looked at the man and said angrily, "Why are you tying me up?" Zhao Fu smiled as he said, "I need you to do something for me. If you do it well, I'll let you go and give you some benefits." The jellyfish said angrily, "I won't agree. If you don't let me go, I'll call for help." Zhao Fu released a barrier and smiled as he said, "It's useless even if you call for help." The jellyfish did not speak, and it looked as if it had given in. Zhao Fu smiled as he said, "I just want you to help me find a jellyfish. This shouldn't be difficult for you." The jellyfish did not speak. Zhao Fu said, "I've given you a chance. If you don't agree, I'll have to control you by force." The jellyfish still did not speak. Zhao Fu stretched out a hand, and a powerful force flowed out of Zhao Fu's hand towards the jellyfish. At that moment, many tentacles shot towards Zhao Fu. Although Zhao Fu reacted quickly, he was unable to dodge these tentacles. A larger jellyfish appeared and swung its tentacles, cutting off many of Zhao Fu's chains. The smaller jellyfish lightly harumphed. "You said that it's useless for me to call for help? Now that my grandma is here, what can you do?" Zhao Fu was tightly bound by the tentacles and he looked quite awkward. He had released a barrier, so there should not be any power leaking out. How had this jellyfish sent out information? The large jellyfish spoke in the voice of an injured woman in her 30s. Why did you help my granddaughter? What's your purpose? The small jellyfish said, he said that he wanted me to help him find a jellyfish. The large jellyfish continued to speak. What jellyfish are you looking for? Zhao Fu felt a headache coming on, and he hesitated as to whether or not he should reveal his purpose. The small jellyfish said, Grandma, seal his power and give him to me as a toy. Apart from our kind, this is the first time I've seen someone from another race stay here without a barrier. Hearing this, the jellyfish felt quite strange and asked, How can you not use a defensive barrier here? Zhao Fu explained, I was born with an anti-poison physique, so I can stay here. The large jellyfish said, Really? Very few people are immune to the poison of our purple moon jellyfish. Since you are of some use, I will spare your life for now. The many tentacles that were wrapped around Zhao Fu injected a wave of power into Zhao Fu's body, restricting Zhao Fu's power. Then, it threw Zhao Fu to the small jellyfish. The small jellyfish grinned and tied up Zhao Fu with its tentacles. Do you dare to be like before? Zhao Fu smiled awkwardly. I wouldn't dare. The careful jellyfish snorted softly. At least you know your place. The large jellyfish said, Let's go back. The small jellyfish said, Okay, and Grandma, why did you come so quickly? I thought it would take a while. The large jellyfish said, Before, there were many higher beings who wanted to barge in here, so I was patrolling around. Hearing this, Zhao Fu knew that the large jellyfish was talking about them. Luckily, they had waited for the ripples to subside, or else they would have been caught. The small jellyfish asked curiously, Why did so many higher beings come here to sit? The large jellyfish replied, I'm not sure either. Your mother fought with them before, so she should know. She was also slightly injured. The small jellyfish said in concern, Then let's quickly go back. The two jellyfish brought Zhao Fu downstream, and they met other jellyfish along the way. In the end, they came to a massive temple. This temple was very tall and was made of white marble. There were exquisite carvings on the walls, and it looked quite majestic. The two jellyfish gradually turned into human forms. One was a young girl with exquisite features, long hair, and countless thin tentacles. She had a pair of purple eyes, and her body was transparent like jelly. The other was a mature woman who seemed to be in her 30s. Her hair was also made of countless thin tentacles, and she had a graceful figure and an enchanting aura. Her body was also transparent like jelly. One was called Jellyfish Moon, and the other was called Jellyfish One. Jellyfish Moon's transparent tentacles pulled Zhao Fu and Jellyfish One into the temple. Inside, there was a beautiful woman with a cold face. She looked just like the other two, but her hair was like long tentacles and her body was like jelly. She was called Jellyfish Yen. Jellyfish Moon asked, Mother, I heard that you were injured. Are you all right? Jellyfish Yen smiled and said, I'm fine. Jellyfish Yen looked at Zhao Fu and asked, Why did you bring someone back? Because they were facing 9 higher beings. Jellyfish Yen had only used her tentacles to attack from afar. Her cultivation was only at the half-step higher being level, so she did not know what Shadow Lotus and the others looked like. Jellyfish Moon laughed and said, This fellow wanted to bully me but was caught by Granny. Jellyfish Yen did not mind Zhao Fu and asked, Mother, how was your patrol? Jellyfish One said, They most likely left and did not enter the water abyss again. Jellyfish Yen said, Fortunately, our water abyss has a geographical advantage and can use the purple moon poison. Otherwise, it would be very difficult to stop 9 higher beings. Jellyfish One said, Why did 9 higher beings want to enter the water abyss? Jellyfish Yen said, I'm not sure either. The reason they did not know was right beside them, and it was all because of Zhao Fu. Jellyfish One said, We need to quickly break through in order to prevent them from entering again. If we startle them, we'll suffer great losses. Jellyfish Yen said seriously, I know. Jellyfish Moon laughed and said, Mother, Granny, I'm going down to play. Jellyfish Yen smiled and said, Go ahead. I also have something to discuss with your granny. Jellyfish Moon pulled Zhao Fu and ran to the side. Zhao Fu wanted to stay and obtain more information, as they seemed to be quite afraid of something. Zhao Fu said, Let go of me. Jellyfish Moon laughed and said, I'm not letting go. Why didn't you let go of me when I told you to? Zhao Fu laughed and said, I can give you many good things to play with. You've probably stayed in the water abyss and never came out, right? I've been everywhere and collected many good things. Jellyfish Moon stared at Zhao Fu and said, You can't lie to me. Zhao Fu laughed and said, I don't even have any power now. I really didn't lie to you, right? Jellyfish Moon released the tentacles binding Zhao Fu and said, Take them out and see what's good. If I'm not satisfied, I'll tie you up again and hang you up. Zhao Fu waved his hand and many toys, strange things, gems, and accessories appeared in front of Jellyfish Moon. Seeing these things, Jellyfish Moon happily ran over to take a look. She had never seen these things before, but she liked them very much. Zhao Fu laughed and said, How is it? Did I lie to you? Jellyfish Moon said happily, No, these things belong to me. Zhao Fu nodded and said, All right. Chapter 3308. Book 1, Chapter 252. Zhao Fu said, Then can I walk around here? Jellyfish Moon thought for a moment and said, Sure, but you can only stay near my room. Otherwise, don't blame me if you are eaten by other jellyfish. Zhao Fu nodded and left the room, planning to investigate the whereabouts of the 8-directional water world. Arriving at a study, Zhao Fu looked around for a while. He didn't learn much, but he understood the origin of the Purple Moon Jellyfish Clan. This water abyss had always been releasing a type of poison. This poison was called the Purple Moon Poison. It had existed since the beginning of the water abyss. It was also called the Purple Moon Water Abyss. It was rumored that if one entered the depths of the abyss, they would see a purple moon. Later on, a group of jellyfish came to live in the abyss and gradually adapted to this poison. Those jellyfish became the Purple Moon Jellyfish, which also contained great poison. The most poisonous part of the Purple Moon Jellyfish was the poisonous blood in their bodies. Zhao Fu had seen this with his own eyes, so he knew how powerful it was. In the end, the Purple Moon Jellyfish reproduced monogamously. This was the same for the Shadowfish clan. After leaving the study, Zhao Fu continued his search. Jellyfish Yen walked out from the side and looked at Zhao Fu with a frown. Why are you here? Zhao Fu said calmly, I was just strolling around. Jellyfish Yen said coldly, Is this a place you can stroll around? Go back to my daughter's room now. Don't let this happen again. Zhao Fu didn't mind and said, Oh, I know. Seeing Zhao Fu's attitude, Jellyfish Yen said angrily, Do you think I won't punish you? Zhao Fu thought for a moment and said, I have a method that can help you cultivate. It will be very helpful for you to increase your cultivation. Do you want to try it? Jellyfish Yen said disdainfully, You. Zhao Fu smiled and said, Of course. Jellyfish Yen said, What proof do you have? Zhao Fu smiled and said, Try it and you will know. I can definitely help you cultivate. If you are not satisfied with the results, you can do whatever you want. Jellyfish Yen said, I won't believe the words of a mere emptiness realm expert like you. Zhao Fu said provocatively, You don't dare, do you? Jellyfish Yen said angrily, You think I don't dare? Zhao Fu said with a smile, So what if I think you don't dare? Give it a try if you dare. Jellyfish Yen said angrily, All right, I'll give it a try. If it doesn't work, I'll definitely teach you a lesson. Zhao Fu smiled and said, Let's go. Jellyfish Yen had a strange look on her face as she followed Zhao Fu into the room. After half a day, Zhao Fu looked at Jellyfish Yen, who was sitting cross-legged on the ground, and said with a smile, "How is it? Is it very effective?" Jellyfish Yen snorted. "I didn't expect you to be immune to my poison. I underestimated you this time." When they entered the room, Zhao Fu told them the method. Jellyfish Yen said with a cold smile that Zhao Fu was courting death. Their sweat and saliva all contained poison, and the higher one's cultivation, the stronger the poison. However, even though she was a half-step almighty expert, she was not affected by Zhao Fu at all. Zhao Fu smiled and said, "Since I'm helping you cultivate, shouldn't you give me some benefits?" Jellyfish Yen said, "Tell me, what do you want?" Zhao Fu said, "I heard that there's an 8-sided water world in the jellyfish abyss, is that true?" Jellyfish Yen said with a cold smile, "I knew that you're not so simple. The news is true, but that thing is in its hands. Do you dare to take it?" Zhao Fu asked, "Who is it?" Jellyfish Yen said, "You can investigate it yourself, but it's a taboo in the jellyfish abyss. No one dares to talk about it, or else they'll die." Zhao Fu frowned and said, "Then I'll be leaving." Jellyfish Yen said, "All right, you can go. In the future, come here at night to help me cultivate." Zhao Fu said discontentedly, "You still want to? It's fine if I don't want to, but do you know how hard it's been for me? I haven't even received any rewards." Jellyfish Yen looked at Zhao Fu and threw a piece of jade to Zhao Fu, saying, "With this, you can walk around here without worrying about being attacked by other jellyfishes. Is this okay now?" Zhao Fu held the piece of jade and felt that it was very cold, and he smiled and said, "That's more like it." After leaving the room, Zhao Fu walked around. Because he had the jade, he did not have to worry, and after familiarizing himself with the area, he saw some jellyfishes. Zhao Fu found that the purple moon jellyfishes were very large, but there were not many of them. Zhao Fu found that they were not at the bottom of the water abyss, but in the middle of the water abyss, and there was still a long way to go. At night, Zhao Fu went to Jellyfish Yan's room. Jellyfish Yan looked at Zhao Fu and said, "Let's begin." The two of them did not say much and continued to intensely dual cultivate. The next day, Zhao Fu left Jellyfish Yan's room and went to Jellyfish Moon's room, wanting to obtain some information from her. Seeing Zhao Fu arrive, Jellyfish Moon's face became red. Zhao Fu smiled and asked, "What is it?" Jellyfish Moon said embarrassedly, "What were you doing with my mother last night? Why was my mother so happy?" Last night, Jellyfish Moon had wanted to find her mother, but she had seen the two of them cultivating. Because of parthenogenesis, she did not understand these things. Zhao Fu lightly smiled and said, "Do you want to try?" Jellyfish Moon said in delight, "Can I?" Zhao Fu nodded. Jellyfish Moon said impatiently, "Let's hurry up and start." A few hours later, Jellyfish Moon nestled in Zhao Fu's embrace, and Zhao Fu smiled and said, "Now you know why, right?" Jellyfish Moon shyly nodded. Zhao Fu smiled and asked, "I'm doing something for you. Do you know who Jellyfish Water Abyss is? Why don't you dare to mention it?" Jellyfish Moon said softly, "It's Water Abyss's taboo. Its brain has been corroded by the purple moon poison, and it will go into a state of madness from time to time. Some of our clansmen have died at its hands, and its power is extremely terrifying. We can only try our best to avoid it." Zhao Fu understood and nodded. Jellyfish Moon reminded, "You have to be careful in the future. Don't talk about it anywhere else, or else it will kill you. Even my mother won't be able to save you." Zhao Fu said with a smile, "Okay, I understand." He indeed had to be careful. If it was in a rational state, it might be possible to solve it, but in a state where it could go crazy at any time, no matter who went over, they would die. The door was pushed open. Jellyfish One was stunned when she saw the messy scene. Then, she angrily said to Zhao Fu, "You brat, I'll kill you right now." Jellyfish Moon hurriedly said, "Grandma, wait." Jellyfish One said angrily, "How could you do such a thing with him? Did he lie to you?" Jellyfish Moon shook her head and said, "No, I was the one who asked him to do it. Also, Grandma, you don't have to worry about me. I'll handle it myself." Jellyfish One said worriedly, "I'm worried that this brat will lie to you." Chapter 3309. Book 1, Chapter 253. Jellyfish Moon said, "He didn't lie to me. Grandma, do you want to give it a try?" Jellyfish One rolled her eyes at Jellyfish Moon. "I won't try." Jellyfish Moon pulled Jellyfish One and said, "Grandma, I promise that you will be satisfied and happy. I like it now." Jellyfish One shook her head. "I won't steal your man." Jellyfish Moon said with a red face, "This isn't stealing men. Our jellyfish race doesn't need men. We can reproduce on our own. Grandma, just give it a try." Hearing this, Jellyfish One said, "I'll poison him to death." Jellyfish Moon shook her head. "Grandma, you won't poison him to death. I think he has been like this with my mother for a long time." Jellyfish One was shocked. "With your mother?" Jellyfish Moon nodded. Jellyfish One looked at Zhao Fu. "What method did you use? Why is my daughter like you too?" She was a little surprised that Jellyfish Moon acted like this and thought that she had been fooled. But why was Jellyfish Yen like this too? Zhao Fu smiled and said, "She asked me to help her cultivate." Jellyfish One asked curiously, "What do you mean?" Zhao Fu smiled and said, "You can reap great benefits if you dual cultivate with me." Jellyfish One was shocked. "You have such an ability?" Zhao Fu smiled and said, "Yeah, do you want to give it a try? You can do whatever you want if it doesn't work." Jellyfish One didn't want to do this with Zhao Fu, but she was a little moved when she heard this. They didn't need men and their views were different. Jellyfish Moon said, "Grandma, just give it a try." Jellyfish One let out a sigh. "All right, I'll give it a try." After a while, Jellyfish Moon looked at Jellyfish One and smiled. "Grandma, I didn't lie to you, did I?" Jellyfish One's face turned red, and she rolled her eyes at Jellyfish Moon. After that, Jellyfish One smiled and said, "My physique and bloodline have improved a lot. What's the reason?" Zhao Fu smiled and said, "I didn't lie to you, did I?" Jellyfish One smiled and said, "Yes, you really didn't lie to me. Thank you this time." Zhao Fu said, "You're welcome. I also have something that I need your help with. I want to know more about it." Jellyfish One said, "What do you want to do?" Zhao Fu said, "I heard that it has an 8-directional water world. I want to get it first." Jellyfish One was shocked. "Do you want to die? Even I have to retreat when I see it. You are just an emptiness realm expert, it can easily turn you into nothingness. Don't think that you are not afraid just because you are immune to poison. Its cultivation might be at the half-immortal realm." Zhao Fu was also a little surprised. "Its cultivation is so high." Jellyfish One said, "So I advise you to behave yourself and not provoke it." Zhao Fu smiled and said, "I understand, but I still have to give it a try. You don't have to worry about me." Jellyfish One snorted, "Who would worry about you?" Jellyfish Moon smiled and said, "I'm worried about him. He gave me a lot of fun things and I can do this with him every day." Jellyfish One felt helpless. Zhao Fu asked, "Is it in the depths of the water abyss now? Does it have any weaknesses? Also, it is a half-immortal. Why would it go crazy?" Jellyfish One explained, "It is in the deepest part of the water abyss. We don't know much about its weaknesses. The reason it became like this is related to the 8-directional water world." Zhao Fu said in surprise, "What does it have to do with the 8-directional water world? The 8-directional water world shouldn't make people go crazy." Jellyfish One said, "Although the 8-directional water world has supreme power, almost no one can possess this power. In order to obtain this power, the 8-directional water world needs to recognize it as its master. In the past, its cultivation was only at the almighty realm. After obtaining the 8-directional water world, It tried many methods to make the eight-dimensional water world recognize it as its master. Although it obtained a part of the eight-dimensional water world's power, its brain was eroded by poison. Therefore, it would go crazy from time to time. Zhao Fu understood. So this was the reason. He asked with concern, "What will happen if I want to fly into the depths of the water abyss?" Jellyfish One said, "You might be turned into minced meat by countless hands before you reach the depths of the water abyss. Usually, we don't dare to go there." Zhao Fu said, "Is there no other way to go to the depths of the water abyss?" Jellyfish One thought for a moment. "If you can get the help of our clan leader, there is a chance that you can reach the depths of the water abyss or even get close to it. When it is not going crazy, it will give the clan leader some names. Once it goes crazy, no one will be able to help it." Zhao Fu asked, "Where is your clan leader?" Jellyfish One said with a smile, "I happen to have a good relationship with the clan leader." Zhao Fu said, "Can you bring me to see her?" Jellyfish One laughed lightly, "Why should I help you? It seems like you have only been here for a few days. Now I wonder what your identity is?" Jellyfish One said, "Granny, I don't think he is a bad person. Otherwise, he wouldn't have given me so many things. He even helped you improve your physique and strength." Jellyfish One said, "I know he is not a bad person. Otherwise, I would have dealt with him long ago." Seeing that Jellyfish One did not reject her, Zhao Fu said, "What do I need to do to see the clan leader?" Jellyfish One said with a smile, "It depends on your performance." Zhao Fu hugged Jellyfish One and said with a smile, "I will perform well right now." Jellyfish One laughed. She had not been this happy in a long time. Jellyfish Yen heard some noise and walked into the room. When she saw the scene in front of her, she sighed slightly. Jellyfish One said with a smile, "Mother, you are here too." Jellyfish Yen asked, "When did you guys do this to him? He didn't lie to you, right?" Jellyfish One shook her head, "No." Jellyfish One looked at her daughter walking in and felt a little shy. Jellyfish One held Jellyfish Yen and said with a smile, "Mother, let's go together." A day later, Zhao Fu looked at the three women in his arms and said with a smile, "Are you satisfied now? Can you bring me to see the clan leader?" Jellyfish Yen asked curiously, "What?" Jellyfish One briefly recalled what happened just now. Jellyfish Yen looked at Zhao Fu in shock. "Are you sure you want to go to the bottom of the water abyss?" Zhao Fu said with a smile, "Yes, I must obtain the water world of the eight sides." Jellyfish Yen said, "What if we bring you to see the clan leader? Our water abyss has always prohibited others from entering. Your current identity is just a toy. If the clan leader sees you and kills you, she might even punish us." Zhao Fu said, "Then do you have a way for me to safely go to the depths of the water abyss?" Jellyfish Yen nodded. "That's why I told you not to go. Can't you just stay here obediently? Right now, the three of us are all yours." Zhao Fu said with determination, "I must go. Please bring me to see the clan leader. Maybe I can convince her." Jellyfish Yen looked at Zhao Fu and said, "All right. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Nights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.